The following is a Bearded Broadcaster Productions podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Breakfast Time with Waffle and Richard. Glad to have you back on this week's show. And Waffle, before we get into anything, we got to, of course, we got to talk some business. We got to talk some trash because our high school, Gaffney High School, state champions, once again, number 18, knock off the streak. Dutch Fork had won, 64 straight games, something like that?
62, I believe.
62, and they had won 5 straight state championships.
Mm-hmm.
Gaffney first championship since we were juniors in high school, which is wild to think about if you're anything Gaffney fan. But they go in, they handle business, come from behind, down 19-7, score 15 points in the fourth quarter, win 22-19. Well, if you were at the game, what was the atmosphere like, and just how crazy was it to see that happen in person?
Dude, it was great. It was so good. Like it was completely a home game for Gaffney. Upper state teams got blessed with the home side of the of Benedict College's stadium, and it definitely paid off for Gaffney because I mean there were people there at 9 o'clock in the morning tailgating, and the game started at 5.
Yeah,
it was great. There was so many people there, and just the team came out and had a couple tough drives at the beginning, and Dutch Fork ended up getting up 13-0, but Gaffney stayed in it and down 19-7. They showed resiliency, and they came back and won the thing in the most important game of them all, in the most important game of them all. And it was great. The crowd reactions too were just crazy.
Yeah,
you could just feel it in the stadium, especially when it got when it got down to it at the end. It was awesome. I had a fantastic night. I'm so glad I went.
Yeah, I didn't get to because I had to work, but I saw the very end of it, and man, you could just hear the reactions there. It was wild. Gaffney, nobody does football better than Gaffney in South Carolina.
Right.
It was wild. It's the first 5A state title for anyone not named Dutch Fork, because since they've been 5A, South Carolina, it's all been Dutch Fork, which is wild to think about. Congrats to Gaffney, title number 18. It's number 18.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't going to talk about them titles in the 50s that Greenwood wants to grab or whatever, but it's number 18.
Yep.
So we will die on that hill, of course, because we are from Gaffney. And then, of course, Gaffney unfortunately took the L to the 76ers this weekend, too. So if you've seen that on Twitter, it's an interesting weekend to be a Gaffney native for sure. Yeah. You took the L to the 76ers, but won a state title. So I think, balances out.
Yeah.
And so we'll continue on with our show. Once again, congrats to Gaffney. But we'll start with the NFL and Waffle. Didn't have the Titans this week. They were on a bye week, much deserved. They got to get some rest because they've been banged up. And we'll start with my Buffalo Bills and Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
It was a game. It was a football game. If you didn't know, this game was played in probably the worst conditions, I think, ever that I've ever seen. It was snowing before the game, and then the winds were up to 50-mile-per-hour gusts of wind. It felt like 24 degrees on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Cold, miserable. The kickoff went into the stands.
Yeah.
At the beginning, and then the first punt by the Patriots went 15 yards and died when it went straight in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So kicking into the wind. Disgusting was this game, and at one point the score was 11-7. That's all you need to know about this game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it ended to be a 14-10 win for the Patriots because, like I've said all year, the Bills need to establish a running game, and they decided we're going to have Josh Allen throw it 30 times.
Right.
And everybody's talking about what the Patriots did. Mac Jones only threw the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
2 of 3 for 19 yards. Patriots ran the ball 46 times for 222 yards. One, that's not great look at all by the Bills defense.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the Bills only ran the ball 25 times. They only ran it once of Matt Breida. Now, Breida did have a fumble as well, so that's probably why they went away from him a bit. But just the fact that they went away from the run and were like, we got to throw it. And now some of those came toward the end. They had to score a touchdown. But also, it's like, the conditions. Like, you've been there all day. You're like, we got to get a run game. And they just couldn't. I know I know they're still banged up on the offensive line. John Feliciano's still out. Tyler Doyle got back today. But, man, I don't understand why you wouldn't run the ball at all.
Right.
Or just abandon it. Because Josh Allen's a mobile quarterback. You've seen it before. I mean, heck, even your wide receivers, I feel like you could just do you could do like the little short passes, little jet sweep passes to somebody like a Gabe Davis or an Emmanuel Sanders. Heck, even Stephon Diggs. You don't have a lot of speedsters at wide receiver, but
yeah,
you could totally do that. But I mean, it's just it was just a frustrating game to watch because of the elements, and it's just frustrating because this is what Bill Belichick does. He wins games in stupid ways with players you don't know about. Because, I mean, Damian Harris had the most yards rushing, 10 carries for 111 yards. Most of that came on that long touchdown run he had in the first quarter. Ramondre Stevenson, again, I don't know who this guy is, but 24 rushes for 78 yards. Brandon Bolden, 4 rushes for 28 yards. They got the wide receivers involved rushing. Nelson Aguilar had a rush. Kendrick Bourne had a rush. Johnny Smith had 1 rush. It was -1 yards, but he had a rush.
Yeah.
And even Mac Jones ran the ball 5 times. So, it's one of those where what's going to happen. The Bills just kind of at times overcorrected, and then they messed up one time, and that led to the big touchdown by Damian Harris.
Right.
And the Bills did have 1 passing touchdown. Josh Allen threw it to Gabe Davis in the end zone, and it worked out. But they couldn't take advantage of good field position twice to start the game with the bad kickoff, and then with the bad punt, they fumbled the ball away right after that. And now the Bills are 1-4 against teams with winning records and are sitting in the 7th seed. They went from first to last in the playoff standings.
Yeah.
And they have the Bucs this week on the road. The Panthers should be a win, but you never know what you're going to get with Cam Newton or what you're going to get with that offense now they fired Joe Brady.
Yeah.
Have to go to New England now. They get the Falcons and they get the Jets. So your last 2 weeks are the only 2 I'm feeling comfortable about. But you got 3 straight games that you got to take advantage of. Yeah. And I don't know if, let's say you win 3 and go 3-2 down the stretch. Is 10-7 going to be enough to get you in the playoffs in the AFC? Maybe. But you're having to go to the number 2 seed, most likely, or the 3 seed. So,
right. Yeah. This was a terrible game in terms of the field conditions. It was so bad.
Yeah.
It's rare we see something like this, other than the conditions weren't comparable as far as wind speed, but that Dolphins Steelers game on Monday Night Football, where it was just disgusting. The field conditions were so bad. And then I guess the Ice Bowl in the what was that, Cowboys Packers maybe, or Packers somebody Super Bowl, whatever. But it was crazy. The wind speeds definitely affecting what Buffalo likes to do best, and that's throw with Josh Allen and what they're best at. With him going 15 of 30 for 145 and a touchdown, obviously that's not as good as it normally is. And then once again, like you said, for weeks upon weeks, not having a running game is killing Buffalo. And New England took major advantage of that and just said, Mac Jones, just hand the ball off. And that's all they did, and that's all they had to do.
I don't know if you saw pregame, Bill Belichick was wearing a Navy mask, and because he worked a lot with Navy, and he was honoring the troops this weekend by just throwing the ball 3 times. Army Navy's this weekend, so
Right.
Yeah, I can respect them. Patriots honoring the troops, yeah.
100%. But a big night from Damian Harris, averaging 11 yards a carry. Now he did have the 1 for 64, and Ramondre Stevenson getting the bulk of the carries, 24 of them for 78 yards. The Patriots are still rolling. They're still undefeated on the road.
That's wild.
They have not lost a road game this year. They're sitting at the top of the AFC. Mm. It would have been crazy had Buffalo won last night. Tennessee would have been back first in the AFC, and they didn't play.
Yeah.
So it's still a jumbled up mess, and everybody's still in it. But Patriots definitely could pull away. Will they? I don't know, but they are in the position to.
What's crazy too is Mac Jones. Again, we talk about how not a whole lot of people expect him to be the best rookie quarterback out of this class. I mean, some people did who watched him in Alabama, but he wasn't really talked about. To go undefeated on the road as a rookie is really is incredible, especially, the Bills is one of the toughest places to play.
Yeah.
Not just the weather, but the crowd's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And, just to go on the road, that's the toughest place they played on the road this year.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Carolina's a close second because they have a good fan base too. But, man, to go on the road and do this and to get wins and just find ways to win for New England, that's huge for Mac Jones. And I hate it so much because I think I'm not saying they found the next Tom Brady, but they found a guy that has potential. And it's going to be dangerous for him for the next couple of years.
It's just, of course, Bill Belichick would end up with the best rookie quarterback. Like, of course he would.
Exactly. He had one bad year, and it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, yeah, so great win for the Patriots. Bills still in it. Got to start establishing that run game and getting back on the right track. All righty. Well, as far as the rest of the NFL, let's take it back to Thursday, December 2nd, where we had the Cowboys at the New Orleans Saints. And the Cowboys take this with 27-17. The Cowboys moved to 8-4, while the Saints, who were 5-2, have lost 5 in a row. They are spiraling. Without Jameis Winston, they can't figure it out. Simeon was in there, looked okay against Tennessee, and then started to suck it up. So finally, they did go Taysom Hill.
Whew.
They went Taysom Hill, and boy, it was not good.
It was not.
It was not at all.
It was good rushing. It was good rushing.
Of course, I would. He is Lamar Jackson light. He is Lamar Jackson light who throws more picks. But I mean, Lamar threw 4 picks against the Browns, so maybe they're the same person.
Yep,
they're not the same person. Lamar's a heck of an athlete. He's a great quarterback as well. But Taysom Hill, 19 of 41, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's cool. 4 picks. Ouch. Not it, Chief. But he did run for 100 yards. So I mean, he did the most. I mean, he tried very hard. And he was the main cog in this offense for New Orleans, but the picks killed him. Mm-hmm. And Dak Prescott, 238, 1 touchdown, 1 pick for him. But what were you saying?
I mean, this game was close until late into the third quarter. It was 13-10. So despite everything the Saints were doing to lose this game, Dallas couldn't take control until the very end. And it was mostly a Carlos Watkins that pick 6 by him. Really sealed the deal for him. And then even then, the Saints went down and scored 30 seconds later on a 70-yard touchdown pass. So there's potential there, but
there's potential, but it might be too little, too late for New Orleans now because they were in prime position at 5-2, not at 5-7.
Yeah, no.
But the Cowboys do get a win, and they increase their lead in the keep the lead in the NFC East, which we'll get into in a minute when we talk about the other teams. But starting out on Sunday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took the trip northbound to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, and the Bucs came away with a win, 30-17. Tom Brady, a fantastic day. Of course, he had one. 38 of 51, 368 yards, 4 touchdowns for him. Bucs moved to 9-3, sitting in the driver's seat in the NFC South, while the Falcons, Saints, and Panthers all spiral downhill at a rapid pace. They're running away with it. And Atlanta, Matt Ryan, 30 of 41, 297, no touchdowns, no picks. Get him out of Atlanta. Somebody help him. I've always liked Matt Ryan. I know you're indifferent. I mean, you have feelings because
I've seen the man break my heart too many times in college. So
I've always liked Matt Ryan, and I've always thought that he is a good quarterback. But it's time, Atlanta, let him go because it's over. He deserves to at least go somewhere where he can contend.
Exactly.
But Russell Gage for Atlanta had 11 receptions for 130 yards, a big day for him. Godwin for Tampa Bay, God.
Good Lord.
15 receptions, 143 yards. That's a massive fantasy day. He didn't have any touchdowns, but that's still almost 30 points in fantasy right there. Leonard Fournette did not have 4 touchdowns this week, so he came back down to earth, kind of like Jonathan Taylor did.
When Tampa can sling it around Tom Brady, you don't need Leonard Fournette to do anything, really. So correct.
Also, once again, we're talking about the Falcons. I just feel like I have to mention, at least the Falcons could say they were the ones who figured out how to use Cordarrelle Patterson.
That's true.
So
that's true.
If there's one upside, I guess Atlanta, there it is.
Yeah.
We also had the Cardinals taking on the Bears in the return of Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. And Kyler Murray did not disappoint. Not a huge stat sheet day for him, but 11 of 15 for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And he had 10 rushes for 59 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So massive having him back for Arizona. They're still in the driver's seat as far as the NFC West, and also having the best record in football and topping everybody's power ranking list, I think, right now still. But James Conner, 20 carries, 75 yards. I think he found the end zone on a reception.
Yeah.
He had 2 of those for 36 yards. DeAndre Hopkins only had 2 receptions for 32 yards. He did have a touchdown, but
that pass was absolute dime too.
Yeah, it
Murray,
was.
So that was.
Yeah.
I also like to note that the first play of this game was an Andy Dalton pick.
Yeah. And Andy Dalton did a great Taysom Hill impression, who also did a great Lamar Jackson impression with 4 interceptions.
Yeah. Matt Nagy, y'all gotta get him out of there, man. It ain't it. You're 4-8. You're done.
It's past time for him to go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But 4-8. I mean, you're not at the bottom of your division because of the Lions, who we will get to, but still.
Yeah.
It ain't it. This ain't it.
No, it's not. He sucks. He's not a good coach. So it's
heck of a football, the arena. Heck of a quarterback on the arena football video game, though.
Correct. But terrible NFL coach. Get him out. The Chargers going to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
The Chargers blow out Cincinnati by 19.
This is the week after they got blown out.
Correct. And this is the week after the Bengals did the blowing out of the Steelers. I don't know. But this is a high-profile matchup. Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert, 2 guys drafted in the same year, 2 guys that are rising stars and going to take over the league eventually one day and be the faces of the league because they're that good. But the battle lived up to its hype. Herbert outdueled him, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick for him. And Joe Burrow finished with 300 yards, a touchdown, and did have 2 interceptions. Rushing stats are similar for the top backs. Eckler ran for 59 and a touchdown. Mixon ran for 54 and a touchdown. T. Higgins, Clemson boy, 9 receptions, 138 yards and a touchdown. A big day for him. And Mike Williams, hey, man, how you doing? 5 receptions, 110 yards, no touchdowns, but did have a good day. But this game, the Chargers absolutely blew out the Bengals. It was not really close because it was 16-0 after the first quarter. So
Cincinnati got within 2 in the third and then 17 points in the fourth quarter by the Chargers. So Chargers did not have a massive letdown. They were the team blowing people out.
Right. Yes. You don't hear that a lot.
Exactly. So
and the Bengals fumbling for a touchdown did not help as well. But a great win by the Chargers. They desperately needed it to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs, who are playing better, which we'll talk about in a minute. But another head scratcher kind of for the Bengals, just keeping pace in their division. Their division is so good, but it's also so confusing at times.
Everybody in their division is inconsistent, I feel like 100%. Every team in the AFC North is either they're on it one week and then they're horrible the next week.
Yep.
Nobody's been consistent in that division this year.
Yeah, no, you're right. Oh, this next game. They finally did it. They finally did it.
Finally.
The best 0-9-1 team of all time got to win. They're 1-10-1 now. We're talking about the Detroit Lions.
Absolutely.
And who did they beat? The team of eternal sadness, not named the Falcons, the Vikings.
Another 1-possession loss for the Vikings and another 1-possession game this year for the Vikings.
I don't know how Vikings fans do it. If you've been a Vikings fan from from at least 1990 to now, how have you not died of heart failure?
Between missing the field goal against the Falcons to Brett Favre throwing across his body in the playoffs, all the missed field goals, and now this.
Yep.
How, Vikings fan? Are y'all okay? Do y'all need a hug?
They're 100% not okay. Kirk Cousins, 30 of 40, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hey, that's a solid day, man.
That's a good day.
Alexander Madison filling in for Dalvin Cook, who was out hurt. 90 yards and a touchdown for him on the ground. And he did have 3 catches for 34 yards as well. Justin Jefferson went off 11 receptions, 182 yards and a touchdown for him. And the Lions, Jared Goff, actually looked like a quarterback.
He looked good.
Yeah. 25 of 41, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 pick. Jamal Williams ran for 71 yards. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown had 10 receptions for 86 yards and the game-winning touchdown with no time left.
See, that was the plan. Last time they left, 10 seconds on the clock? That's too much time.
Right.
They had to leave exactly no time left to win this football, to win their first game, and they did it perfectly.
Yeah. Nah, make no mistake. Detroit almost blew it. It was 20-6 at halftime. It was 20-6 at halftime, and the Vikings are probably just like, oh, my God, what's happening? And they figured it out. But
also, if we go back and look at the final play, what kind of coverage were the Vikings running on that final play?
Who knows? It's terrible.
They were in so soft coverage, like they only have to get 5 yards to get, and then they have a 10-yard end zone. Like, what kind? They were in the softest coverage I think I've ever seen on a goal line.
Yeah.
And Amon-Ra St. Brown wide open in the middle of the Lions logo. Call it touchdown. Game over.
Yeah. So I will props to Detroit for getting their win. Minnesota, I'm sorry, but it's you're doing it to yourself at this point.
Yeah. I'm God. Oh God, they played the Steelers this week. That game might be extremely ugly.
Yeah. This will be dumb.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. And the Dolphins, arguably the hottest team in the NFL, not named the Patriots. The Dolphins continue their win streak. Richard, I know you don't want to hear this. The Bills are 7-5.
They're
the Dolphins
getting
are
closer.
6-7.
They're getting closer to the Bills, and the Bills don't play them at all the rest of the season.
Right.
And the back half of their schedule is bye week this week: Jets, Saints, Titans, Pats. If they win the next two and the Bills drop their next couple, it's because the Bills have Bucks and Patriots during that same stretch.
Yeah.
It's starting to get a little more interesting, and I hate it.
Yeah. Well, they are coming. They're not here yet, but they are almost here. Yeah. The Dolphins winners of 5 straight after starting the season 1-0 with a win over the Patriots, losing 7 straight, and now winners of 5 straight. The Miami Dolphins knocked off the New York Giants, who are just terrible.
Yeah.
And
now, Grant, no Daniel Jones this week, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Miami moves to 6-7. Giants are now 4-8. They are falling away in the NFC East, which still, they still kind of have a shot to win it. But, instead of Daniel Jones, Mike Glennon, 23 of 44, 187 yards and 1 interception for him. No running game. Saquon Barkley ran for 55 yards. Evan Ingram's your leading receiver. He can't catch anything. That's never a good day. Tua Tagovailoa, 30 of 41, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Gaskin can't run. It's not going to change. They can't run the ball. Waddle, another good day, 9 receptions, 90 yards for him. So props to the Dolphins. They're playing good. The defense is playing up to their caliber like they were predicted to before the season started. And they're almost here. They're coming.
They're sneaking up, and Bills got to get some separation. Because you're behind the Pats, and somebody's going to sneak in.
Yeah. The Eagles finally did something that I think we expected, but they were not led by their normal man. No, sir. It was the return of Gardner Minshew.
I was so hyped when I saw that. So hyped.
Oh, yeah. Eagles beat the Jets 33-18. What was a closely contested game at the half ends up being a 15-point loss for the Jets as they score 0 in the second half. But Gardner Minshew, 20-25, 242 yards and 2 touchdowns for him. A great day. First time starting a football game in this season. And, he had a really good day. Miles Sanders did as well. 24 carries, 120 yards for him. And Dallas Goedert, what a day for the tight end. 6 receptions, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. A heck of a day for him. As far as the Jets, Zach Wilson back in there again. 2 touchdowns and a pick for him on the day. Tevin Coleman ran for 58 yards, and Elijah Moore was the leading receiver with 77 yards and a touchdown. Also, Corey Davis, the free agent acquisition for the Jets, is going to have surgery. He's over the year. So
this game I thought was going to be a lot crazy because the Jets had a great return against the Braxton Berrios on the kickoff, and then they missed that extra point. And after that, it just kind of after they went back and forth for a bit, Jets missed 2-point PATs back to back, and then missed a 2-point conversion. So they were just struggling on special teams all day long. So they didn't convert a single PAT in this game.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not what you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, Eagles getting a win, 6-7, sitting there behind the Dallas Cowboys still, but still with a shot if they can just find some consistency. But we move on. Colts Texans. This was a rout, 31-0. This is how Tennessee should have treated Houston, but unfortunately they did not. The Colts still rolling. Even after losing to Tampa Bay, I mean, they've had a heck of a last, 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
And they are having a bye week this week. So good. Tennessee can gain some ground on them, hopefully, or, increase the lead back to 2 games.
Yeah.
Before the Colts play the Patriots on Thursday Night Football, both teams coming off a bye, and then they play at the Cardinals. So very tough. Next 3 weeks. Well, bye week this week, and then next 2 weeks after that for the Colts. But this game, Colts dominated. Wentz 158 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor did it all with his legs. 32 carries, 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Michael Pittman was the leading receiver with 77 yards. And I don't have anything to say about the Texans. They got shut down by Darius Leonard. They suck. So.
Texans first team eliminated from playoff contention. That means the Lions are still alive for a playoff spot.
And that also means the Jaguars are still alive.
Yes, and the Jets. So Texans, congratulations on officially being the absolute worst football team in the NFL by a mile.
They also have 2 division wins. That's stupid.
Football's dumb.
Yeah. This game, Washington playing the Raiders. Washington gets a big win, 17-15. Here we are with the same Raiders trope. I mean, they start off hot and then they just
fall apart.
They fluster their way to a 8-8 season. Well, now it's going to be 8-9. But Raiders not playing good. They have lost 4 out of their last 5.
And remember what I said before that? They always had that dumb loss. They lost that dumb game to the Giants. And lost to the Chiefs, lost to the Bengals, beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. You think they're going to turn the ship around and lose to Washington this week. And they have Chiefs, Browns, Broncos, Colts, and Chargers. All those teams are playoff contenders.
Yeah, they're screwed.
So they have got to get these wins this week. And I don't see there's no easy ones on here. And I don't see where they get one if they keep playing like this.
Yeah. Washington moving to 6-6. 2 games behind Dallas and a half game ahead of the Eagles right now. And the Washington, the Washington, that always kills me. The football team plays the Cowboys and then the Eagles and then the Cowboys again and then the Eagles again. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. That's dumb. Whoever made this schedule. That's stupid how that works out. Okay. Even stupider. The Washington football team has 5 games remaining. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they're all against division opponents.
Yeah.
That's kind of
just like, we're going to load the back end and give you the most advantage you can or the worst advantage.
See, but it's actually genius because everybody knows how stupid this division is. And everybody expects like Dallas to run away with it, but we all know in the back of our mind that they're not going to run away with it. And so these last 5 games are going to create utter chaos every week. So it's actually genius, and I'm here for it.
I mean, one of these games is already scheduled for prime time. It's going to be flexing the prime time, so they know what they're doing. The TV stations know what they're doing.
Yeah. Day after Christmas, Washington at the Cowboys, but yeah, Washington coming up, home versus Cowboys at the Eagles, and then at the Cowboys the day after Christmas. These games are going to be massive for that whole division. But anyway, about Sunday, Heineke 23 of 30, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick for him. A good day. Gibson had 88 yards on the ground. Nobody really tore it up receiving for them. Renfro for Vegas, another great day.
Yeah.
Is he turning into wide receiver 1 out there in Vegas?
Might
But 9 receptions, 102 yards for him, no touchdowns. The absence of Darren Waller obviously hurt because he's a massive target for them. Jacobs had 52 yards and a touchdown, and Derek Carr did nothing. No touchdowns, no picks. So
I don't know if you saw this stat either. Washington had never won a game by a score of 17-15 in their entire franchise history, and they've won 2 straight by that same score now.
Oh, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so that's wild to see that. And Washington's going to be around for forever. So
yeah,
kind of interesting to see that. Just kind of interesting scores. And I think this is the first time ever there's back-to-back weeks with that same score, and it's been the same team involved. So
interesting. Los Angeles hosting the Jaguars. This game sucked. It's 37-7. If you're a Rams fan, you loved it. If you're a Jags fan, why would you be a Jags fan? 1 and 2 that sucked.
Can we get Trevor Lawrence out of there, please? I know it's year 1, but can we get Trevor Lawrence out of there, please?
Here's a real question to pose. Would you be more upset about Trevor being in Jacksonville or if he was drafted by Houston?
Oh, God. I mean, heck, that's how I felt Deshaun Watson was playing this year because I don't think he'd be helping them much this year either.
Yeah.
That'd be a tough question. I think the future's brighter in Jacksonville because the Texans are so old.
Say that.
Just because the Texans are so old, Jaguars have some rookies at least. So it's like we can maybe develop them if we get a coach that knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I would feel more confident having him be in Jacksonville. But Texans, they're in a dark place, and I don't know when they're getting out of it.
Yeah, Trevor's going to have a bright future when they move to London. So the Rams, 37-7 over the Jags. It was stupid. It was very stupid, and it was competitive at halftime. It was 16-7 at halftime, but then Matthew Stafford turned it on in the second half, and they shut him out 21-0 in the second half. Stafford had 295, 3 touchdowns. Sony Michel had over 100 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp, another great day, 8 receptions, 129 yards and a touchdown. He's ridiculous this year. OBJ did have a touchdown, but only on 2 catches. So whatever. Jacksonville had not one person run for over 25 yards. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good if you're a Jags fan. And they play Tennessee this week, coming off a bye week. I hope that's another death sentence, but we'll see. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Ravens Steelers, Richard.
This game was awesome.
This game was good.
It was dumb, but it was awesome.
Once again, this AFC North is showing how inconsistent everybody is. Because the Ravens sitting at first, and not only the AFC North, but the AFC, in prime position to do some things and lock up home field advantage in a first round bye, and they blow it. And they literally blew it on the final play. Now they did good to score the touchdown and tie it up and everything, and then they come out and they run this 2-point play to go for the win, which I like. I'm all in favor of that. Overtime sucks.
Here's the thing: why is TJ Watt the guy that's left unblocked?
Right.
Of all the people on that field to leave unblocked, you know who you need to block, and that's the reason they lost, because he got the pressure. Pass was high. Mark Andrews couldn't handle it, and that's why they lost. Yeah,
but yes, okay. Leaving TJ Watt unblocked is stupid because he is very, very good. But Andrews has got to
you have to
chip him harder. He didn't even hardly hit him at all.
Yeah.
And he didn't fire off the ball enough. And so that means that Watt's coming free and Lamar's got to move up and down in the pocket. Now, even after all that, Lamar has a relatively easy throw. I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world. And he overshot it, and Andrews, it went off his fingers, and that was it. Yep. So, but Lamar had 253 and a touchdown. Najee Harris ran for 71 yards, and Deontay Johnson for Pittsburgh had 8 receptions for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Steelers get a really good win. Ravens are sitting at 8-4. Bengals are now 7-5. Steelers are 6-5-1, and the Browns are I think they're still 6-6.
6-6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that division is still stupid tight, and it's going to be interesting going down the stretch. But this was a game that Baltimore could and should have won.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because the Steelers did nothing in the first half either.
Right.
Didn't do anything till the fourth. They didn't score till the fourth quarter. They scored a field goal in the second, but they didn't score a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And it was another classic Ravens Steelers game, one you always remember. But there's some concerns on both of these teams, of course. Man, it's gotta be disheartening if you're a Ravens fan for sure that you could have put this one away for sure and just couldn't.
Yep. Oh, and then the Seahawks. You're dead. What are you doing? What are you doing showing a pulse? Well, not a pulse. Not a playoff pulse, but just a pulse at all. What are you doing? Tyler Lockett catching game-winning touchdowns? Ha! Yeah, right. But that's exactly what he did because he absolutely burnt Josh Norman, who is washed up trash. Josh Norman sucks.
Absolutely.
The Seahawks, 30-23 over the 49ers, who have been playing so good. And the Seahawks still own the 49ers. The 49ers can't beat them.
Didn't we say last week this would be a game the Seahawks will win just because?
Yes.
Yeah, they did it.
Yep.
And I got to say this too. So the end of this game was a goal line stand by the Seahawks after the 49ers got a goal line stand before. And I was watching at home. So didn't have red zone up, so I didn't know any of this was going on. And literally, as soon as the Saints-Ravens game ends, you go flying to Seattle, and Kevin Harlan's giving you the updates. I'm like, oh my God, that's 3rd and goal.
Yeah.
And by the way, Kevin Harlan is so good at his job.
Yes, he is. He's
amazing. My God, he had to come in there on 3rd and goal with 2 plays left in the game to describe everything going on to the entire nation. Yeah, they didn't see it on red zone for some reason. Perfectly described it and described all the action perfectly. Kevin Harlan is probably one of the best NFL announcers, and we don't respect him enough. And he's also great on the radio too. I think if you've heard that call of him with the streaker, at one game is hilarious. Yeah.
He's great at NBA too. I love watching the NBA game with him.
Absolutely, Kevin Harlan, one of the best announcers.
100%. Yeah. Russell Wilson was 30 of 37, 231, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Seattle leading rusher was Travis Homer, who had three carries for 80 yards and a touchdown for him. And Tyler Lockett, leading receiver. What's up, man? It's nice to freaking see you.
He's back. Hey, good job. You woke up. Now you're about 6 weeks too late, but thank you for coming out.
7 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown for him. George Kittle for the 49ers went absolutely TF off. 9 receptions, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. What a freaking day for him. And obviously Deebo Samuel was out for San Francisco, which I'm sure hurt a little bit, but Elijah Mitchell had 66 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And Jimmy G still just kind of putzing around out there doing, I guess, enough. 20 of 30. 20 of 30
on the bench. So
20 of 30 for 299, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So Seahawks still on the 49ers. They halt the 49ers march to the end of the season as they were decimating some people. But and then finally, Sunday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs are back. 22-9 victory over the Broncos. Obviously not a very, very emphatic win. It took a late pick 6 by Daniel Sorensen to put this one away. But the Chiefs back at 8-4 when I believe they were at one point 3-3. They were 3-4.
They've won 5 in a row.
They have won 5 in a row. The last loss was to Tennessee. I guess that was a wake-up call. They beat the Giants barely. They beat the Packers barely. They killed the Raiders, eked one out over the Cowboys by 10, and then now they beat the Broncos. So it looks like they're figuring it out. Their defense has definitely taken a turn for the best in the past 4 games. They have allowed 39 points. Sorry, my voice just cracked. 39 points allowed in their past 4 games. That's very good.
Yeah.
And they had previously allowed 29 to the Browns, 35 to the Ravens, 30 to the Chargers, 30 to the Eagles, and 38 to the Bills. So, yeah. But they're back, and who's excited? Not me.
Yeah, because also this is not good for the Bills either, because this is the one team with winning record the Bills have beaten, and you're like, okay,
Right.
they're looking pretty good, and they've gone two different directions since then, and they have passed the Bills now in the standings for playoffs. So this is getting kind of tight. You're a Bills fan.
For all the winning that Kansas City has done, though, this was still not pretty offensively.
No.
Patrick Mahomes was 15 of 29 for $184 and no touchdowns. Only had a pick. And Patrick Mahomes did have a rushing touchdown though, but and that's pretty much it. I mean, Tyreek Hill had 2 catches. Travis Kelce had 3 catches.
But no matter what happens, Denver, even without Von Miller, they got rid of him. They still have a pretty good defense. I'll say that.
Yeah, Bradley Chubb can lead that defense by himself. He is that good of a player.
They're going to keep him in that game. It's again, is Teddy Bridgewater the answer? Some games, yes. Some games, not really. We got to see more. So
right, and then another division like the AFC North, the AFC West. Kansas City's 8-4. Los Angeles, the Chargers are 7-5, and then Vegas and Denver both 6-6. So everybody's still very much alive in that division. Yeah. Even though some teams, Vegas, are spiraling. Mm-hmm. But and I can't move on from this without mentioning that 75-yard interception by Daniel Sorensen. I can't. It was so beautiful. Sorensen has had an up and down year. Catches this pick, runs it all the way back, and I swear to God, if he didn't hit the hardest little high step straight out of freaking NFL Street, toting the ball.
That's the first thing I thought of.
It's just so beautiful, man. It was so good. I mean, the freaking game breaker bar was full. I was fully expecting him to hit that thing and jump over the line of scrimmage on the next play and automatic interception. But
jump off the field goal post.
Yeah, man. What that celebration was so hard. I freaking love it.
Yeah, it was
props to Daniel Sorensen. All right, but yeah, that does it for the week 13 recap. We will move on to week 14. So this week coming up, Thursday night is when you get to see this incredibly stupid game between these Steelers and the Vikings in Minneapolis. So this is going to be dumb. Vikings, every game's been at least by a score except for one, and the Steelers like to beat people they're not supposed to beat. So we'll see.
You don't know what you're going to get because AFC North's been so weird. You don't know which Steelers team you're going to get this week.
Right. And then Sunday, starting us off hot, Ravens, Browns. Both teams need it after taking – well, the Browns had a bye week and the Ravens had a bad loss last week that they should have won. So both teams obviously need it to keep pace, but the Browns need it a little bit more. Cleveland is a 2.5-point favorite at home. So that one should be a good one. It's supposed to be cold, so it's like 42. So we'll see. Should be a lot of running between these two high-powered rushing offenses.
Yeah, that's gonna be a dogfight for sure. In the AFC North classic rivalry matchup, should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun. All
right, 1 o'clock, CBS. The return of the Tennessee Titans after a bye week. The Titans sitting at 8-4. They if a Bills win would have happened last night, they basically would have controlled their own destiny as far as the one seed in the AFC, but still an uphill battle for that. As far as the division, a 2-game lead, or 1.5 over the Colts, but the Colts are off next week. Titans hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that we already blew out of the water earlier this year, and now we get them at home. I really am excited to watch Titans again. It was very nice to not have to worry about them this past Sunday, and I'm glad that they had a bye week where they could, get some people back. They designated Julio Jones to come back from IR, so they'll look at him this week and they'll figure out whether or not he's going to be able to go. I hope he does. Also, this is going to be the Titans' debut of a familiar name, an older guy, a controversial name, Golden Tate, making his Tennessee Titan debut this week. Golden Tate, probably best known for the Fail Mary up there in Green Bay with when he was with Seattle. So obviously Golden Tate, at times in his career that spanned 9-10 years. Yeah, he's looked really good. He's obviously been controversial. He's got a mouth on him. He likes to showboat, but We will see how that goes. I'm just excited to have a receiver with some credibility. And somebody for Ryan Tannehill to throw to. So
yeah,
I'm definitely excited about that. If we can get him and Julio back, and then AJ Brown should be set to come back. Not this week, not the next week, but the week after that. So
yeah,
just one step closer into trying to get everybody healthy. Because, like I've said, if Tennessee can make it to the playoffs and then they could get full strength with still a possibility of Derrick Henry coming back, I would put the Titans against anybody. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it all starts this Sunday. We got to beat Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So, also 1:00 Raiders Chiefs, big divisional game. Same situation with the Browns and the Ravens, but one team's 8-4, one team's 6-6. So we'll see how that one goes. Kansas City is playing a lot better, so I would expect them to probably win this game the way the Raiders have been looking. But who knows?
Yeah.
Saints Jets. Saints, you better not lose.
Yeah, this is Saints spiraling. You gotta stop that spiral. And what better team to stop it against than the Jets?
Right.
Unless the Jets decide to show up and play football, because they've done that 3 times this year. And
Yep. Cowboys Washington. Same situation as Chiefs Raiders, Ravens. God bless Ravens Browns. Cowboys 8-4, Washington 6-6. Massive game for both. I think out of those 3 games between 8-4 and 6-6 teams, I think this one's going to be the best one.
I think so too. I think there's just Taylor Heineke's a lot better than a lot of people thought. Again, that man's a legend. At NCAA 14. If you had that game, you knew he was a legend. But I think there's still some question marks on Dallas. A lot. Their rushing game is so up and down.
Yeah.
Their defense has been good, but there's just times where defense kind of is susceptible. Dak hasn't been great at times this year, so it's just going to be interesting to see. I think if Heineke, can control the game, and then, I don't know what's the stats on J.D. McKissick right now. I believe he's questionable, so that helps out Dallas for sure.
Yeah,
but as is Ricky Seals-Jones, so 2 big-time targets, and of course no Logan Thomas anymore because he's out for the season. So that's going to help out Dallas a bit. It hurts Washington, but man, Washington. Again, they find ways to win. They just find a way to win. And that's sometimes all you need is a bunch of luck. And I can see Washington find their way and lucking their way into a win against Dallas for sure.
Yeah, I think this will be a really good one. Falcons at the Panthers. Both these teams there's not much hope. There is hope, at least for a playoff spot, but a lot's going to have to happen. This is old-fashioned division rivalry here. Starting at 1:00 on Fox, and Panthers have the home field advantage. First game without Joe Brady as their offensive coordinator. So
Sam Darnold is cleared to be back this week, so interesting to see which quarterback they throw out there between Darnold and Cam.
You to both,
or PJ Walker.
Okay, fair. Also at 1:00, Seahawks are at the Texans. Seattle, don't do it. Don't lose. Don't do it. Don't lose.
If you're using, you can play in park. You've been eliminated. You can do whatever you want. Tickets are $14 for this game, by the way. So
let's go.
Absolutely.
4:05 starting your late window games. The 110-1 Lions, the best 110-1 team of all time, taking their talents to my voice just cracked again. Taking their talents to Denver to Empower Field at Mile High to take on the Broncos.
Looking at the rest of the Lions' schedule, except for I have the Cardinals in this back half. Except for that game, I'd give them a chance to win all those games because of how they played this year.
Yeah.
Because they have Broncos, then Cardinals. I think that's a loss. Falcons, Seahawks, Packers, and Packers for the last week of the season. Packers clinched the division by then and just rest everybody. So
yeah,
this Lions team is weird, man.
They are, and dang it if they don't fight to the bitter end. But
I thought Dan Campbell was crazy, but that team will fight for him, and
they will.
They have gone out and they have fought their tails off all season long, and it finally paid off. That's good to see. Hopefully, they can get at least a couple more wins and maybe spoil some seasons at least.
Yeah, cue the incoming 4-touchdown loss for the Lions. So,
exactly. Yeah.
Because that's how it always goes. Also at 4:05, the Giants are at the Chargers. Chargers, you definitely don't need to lose this one. Let me tell you what, buddy. They get them at home. They're a 10.5-point favorite. I see no problem for the Chargers to take care of business here, but who knows?
Yeah, it's Chargers, so.
Yeah. This one's interesting. 49ers coming off a loss, playing the Bengals, who have coming off a loss. Both teams looking really good as of the last 3-4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Both taking L's last week. So they're both going to be hungry for a win. Cincinnati, a 1-point favorite at home. The battle of Joe Burrow versus Jimmy G. This should be a really good one. I'm excited to watch this one. And I don't know if Debo's going to be back or not. It was a groin injury, so I'm not sure how long he's going to be out.
Yeah.
But.
I mean, these are two teams that need to survive in their division races. San Francisco's got the 7th spot in the NFC. The Bengals holding on to a spot, are trying to get into a spot in the playoffs. So, yeah, these are two teams that are going to be fighting to the bitter end for this one. So,
yeah. And then at 4:25, Richard, your Buffalo Bills taking the trip down the Atlantic coast to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tom, it's been a while. See you again, buddy. And, you're still good. I hate it. And you're going to be playing until you're 55. I hate that. And, I talk about how the Bills can't get a rushing game. Oh, they ain't going to get one this week for sure against this defense. It's going to take a Herculean effort to get some kind of rushing game when you have Vita Vea plugging up holes across the way. Yeah. No, this game is going to be interesting to see. There's going to be more passing in this one. Weather much nicer, 75 degrees down in Tampa.
Yeah, complete flip of the script. So
yeah. My question is, we didn't see it much on Thanksgiving because by that point the game was over. We didn't see it this week because Mac just for free passes. What's going to happen without Trey White out there?
Right.
I think Poyer and Hyde are solid corners and safeties, but Trey White's a different beast, and he's one of the best DBs in the NFL for a reason. And, I think the Bills are going to have to get pressure on Tom Brady, make them have to run it a lot. Now, then you got to contain Leonard Fournette and hope he doesn't have one of those big days he had a few weeks ago.
Right.
You got to get a win.
Yeah.
You've got to get a win over these good teams because they didn't do it against some of those teams that were struggling. One thing I will say, though, the Bills past 5 have lost to Jacksonville, beat the Jets, lost to the Colts, beat the Saints, lost to the Patriots. So maybe they beat the Bucs based on that.
Maybe we've started a trend.
I know. There's so many weapons, though, the Bucs have. Even with losing Antonio Brown, they have Gronk, they got Fournette, Godwin, and then of course, and again Tom Brady. Tom Brady did it for years in New England, where he had one good receiver, and that was all he needed.
Right.
And so, this is going to be a crazy game. I think AJ Klein out again for the Bills, which is big on that middle of the defense too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. The over-under is 52.5, so they're predicting no defense in this one, which is wild for me, especially with how the Bucs defenses look this year, and how the Bills defenses look this year too, for the most part. And yeah, this is going to be a crazy game. I think it's going to be a classic. I feel like it's going to be one of those classic Tom Brady games where the Bills score with like a minute left, take a lead, and Tom Brady does some crazy play. Just finds the right receiver at the right time, gets him down and kick a field goal and win it.
Yeah.
That's what Tom Brady does. I'm ready to get my heart broken again. I realized that my heart probably was broken by the Patriots last night. Could be broken by the Bucs and Tom Brady, and then 2 weeks could be broken by the Patriots again. So I'm all for it, man. I'm all for seeing Tom Brady and the team that the most hated team in the NFL for me break my heart in three of the next 4 weeks. So
yeah.
No, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a tough one nationally. It's a national TV game for CBS. Probably going to have Romo and Jim Nantz on it. Big time game. Tampa Bay is undefeated at home too. By the way, they are 5-0 at home, or the Bucs. So tough environment. Again, completely different environment than what you had on Monday. So I don't know. That'll help for sure. But man, it's going to be a tough one for sure.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I'm looking forward to a good game. Bills just got to try their best to establish a running game. Josh Allen's got to be on his P's and Q's.
Mm-hmm.
And Brady, we know how good Brady is, but he has had some slip up weeks here in the past 5 weeks. So you never know what could happen. But Sunday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers taking on their longtime division rival, the Chicago Bears. Aaron Rodgers, quote, owns them, and I don't think he sells that this Sunday. They're going to own the Bears again.
Yeah.
It's going to be 34 degrees at Lambeau. It's going to be disgustingly cold, and this is just going to be a beatdown.
Yeah.
Maybe the nail in the coffin for Nagy, please.
Probably. Green Bay's a 12.5-point favorite. You don't see that much in rivalry games in the NFL. So.
Right. Yeah. And then Monday Night Football, this could be game of the year. It is the LA Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. They already played once this year. The Cardinals getting the win. This is going to be fun. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, both back. And then LA, obviously, with Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp having a great season, also with OBJ. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. That's going to be fun. I'm excited. I'm really ready to watch that game. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole lot of fun for sure in that one.
Yeah. And bye weeks this week. Colts are on a bye. Dolphins are on a bye. Pats are on a bye. And the Eagles. So we get a break from the ebb and flow of the Eagles. The Patriots get to settle down for – the Patriots and the Dolphins get to settle down for a week. And the Colts get to sit back for 1 week. And that I think that's the last round of bye weeks. That should be it.
So.
My God, it's so late in the season. There's no way there's any more bye weeks. No, there's not. So,
yeah.
Cool. All righty. Well, that's going to do it for NFL. So,
so that's their NFL action, and we'll continue to roll on. We'll roll on to a basketball, of course, basketball season deep here. Continuing to roll. It's already been like over a month for basketball, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
All right, it's gone so quick. Last weekend, we'll start the men first. Last weekend, we had some great matchups. Duke fell last week against Ohio State in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. That was a disappointing second half for Duke. Just 23 points in the second half.
The Duke team that beat Gonzaga can 100% win a national title.
Mm-hmm.
The Duke team that played against Ohio State absolutely cannot. We'll lose in the round of 32 or something. But that's Duke just got to get consistent, and it's still early.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily a bad loss. I don't think Ohio State's necessarily are a bad team at all.
Yeah, they just had a tough schedule at the beginning.
Then they got buzzer beat by Florida, who I guess we'll talk about Florida in a minute.
Yeah.
They had a stupid loss this week, but So this Duke team just got to get consistent, as does I guess everybody. But
yeah, for sure. And they got 2 weeks off because of finals. They don't play again until the 14th against South Carolina State. South Carolina State App and Cleveland State. And then Virginia Tech before Christmas. So really just one tough game before Christmas left.
Yeah.
And then they start rolling the conference with Clemson and Notre Dame on the road, which will be tough environments to play in, of course, but should be able to handle business in those as well. So, getting some rest, which is always needed. And we'll see about that. We'll look at some games from this past weekend. We might need to talk about Alabama because they went off and bit the smackdown on Gonzaga, 91-82. And it wasn't that close for most of this game. It was a 19-point lead for Bama at halftime. That's the largest Gonzaga has been down at halftime, I believe, since 2008.
Yeah.
So Bama starting to roll. Jalen Shackelford is a really good player. Bama's only losses to Iona, who is coached by Rick Pitino. That's a very good Iona team, I think.
Yeah.
And they've handled business. They beat Drake, beat Miami. They got a big game this weekend against Houston on Saturday night. It's at 10 p.m. It's in Alabama too, which is like ew. But they have a tough schedule. They have Houston and Memphis back to back, Jacksonville State, and then they have Colorado State. Colorado State's undefeated, so interesting to see that. And then they have Tennessee and Florida to start conference play. So it doesn't get any easier for the Tide, but if they can come out of this, they can look pretty good.
Yeah.
In this little stretch Some other big games from the past weekend. Wisconsin knocked off Marquette. Michigan knocked off San Diego State. Hey, look, Clemson lost a heartbreaking conference game. I am shocked. I said 80-75 to Miami to start off conference play.
Yeah.
Clemson basketball is the reason. Listen, Clemson basketball, I think there was some. They broke the universe when they beat UNC in Chapel Hill because COVID came like 2 months later.
Yeah.
And so since then, I guess they've had to pay for their crimes, which fair, but worth it.
Yeah.
Louisville beat NC State 73-68. NC State is such a weird team every year.
Yeah.
I feel like every year they're so up and down, and they don't know half the time what they're going to do when they go out there.
Yeah.
Syracuse beat Florida State. Florida State doesn't look that good this year. Now, as I can say that, they can find their way. They know what they're doing down there, but they just haven't looked great to start the year. This is just funny to me. East Tennessee State played Lenore-Rhyne this past weekend and beat them 90-66, but the abbreviation for Lenore-Rhyne on ESPN is LAG.
Lag.
No. Not right at all.
No.
Looking at men's games going on right now, Kentucky is in a battle with Southern right now in the second half, up 38-34. They just started the second half, so that can be interesting. Tennessee and Texas Tech are playing in Madison Square Garden. Texas Tech's up 29-25 at halftime. Kansas just tipped off against UTEP, and they're already up 8-0. Villanova and Syracuse renewing an old Big East rivalry tonight as we're recording. And then today, when this episode drops, you got a good matchup. Texas and Seton Hall are playing each other. Texas going to New Jersey for that one, so that should be a lot of fun. Iowa and Iowa State are playing at 9:00. That game I feel like is going to be 60-58, as they are like their football teams. I feel like.
Yeah.
Friday, not a whole lot to mention about. You got Louisville and DePaul. That's really the most interesting game. This Saturday, though, again, another good weekend of basketball. You have this State Farm Arena Challenge, or this Atlanta Challenge. That kicks off at 11:30 a.m. with Nebraska and Auburn. That should be a fun one. Wisconsin plays Ohio State in the conference game. BYU's going to play Creighton in the Sanford Pentagon up in Sioux Falls. Interesting little neutral site game there. Syracuse and Georgetown renew their old rivalry game. That's always a lot of fun. Arkansas goes to Oklahoma. Penn State goes to Michigan State. Clemson will play Drake in that State Farm Challenge or whatever down in Atlanta. UCLA goes to Marquette, which should be an interesting road test for the Bruins. UNCG plays Tennessee, and Tennessee needs to watch it. UNCG has gone off and beaten some teams the past couple of years and have made some tournament runs. So it should be an interesting game there. You also have Missouri and Kansas renewing the old rivalry. St. Bonaventure and UConn are going to play each other up in New Jersey. That's a women's and men's doubleheader for UConn. We'll talk about UConn women soon. There's some big news about them that just came out. Kentucky plays at Notre Dame. LSU goes to Georgia Tech. Minnesota plays Michigan. Let's see. There's one other game. I said Houston, Alabama. That's your big game. 10:00 late night. That's a big time game for Alabama and for Houston. See which of these teams that's kind of rising is going to be really good this year. And then also you have a rivalry, Cincinnati and Xavier. I think we all remember a few years ago when they both got in that massive brawl at the end of the game.
It seems like it's always chippy.
Oh yeah. Those two schools hate each other. That one's at Xavier this year at 8:30. So be ready for that one. That one could be a lot of fun. Big time. And then on Sunday, a big game on Sunday, Baylor and Villanova out in Waco. On Sunday. That's a big time matchup. Also have Florida at Maryland and Gonzaga at Washington. Because Gonzaga is hosting Washington. But yeah, we'll talk about Florida. Florida last night took on Texas Southern. Texas Southern winless.
Yeah.
Every year, Texas Southern does not play a home game, usually until late in January. This year, their first home game of the season is not until January 8th because their coach wants to test them all the time. Texas Southern last night became the first SWAC team to be a ranked SEC team in the entire Associated Press era.
Wow.
1936 is when they started doing the AP poll.
Mm-hmm.
And tell you something, they didn't just win, they dominated 69-54 for the Tigers. They were up by 10 at halftime and then held on in the second half. This incredible is all I can say for the Tigers.
Yeah.
Big time win for them. And Florida, oh boy, you can't lose these.
No, you definitely cannot lose these.
Yeah, Florida shot just 38% from the field. Texas Southern shot 54% from the field, 45% from three. Florida just was heaving up threes. They were 5 of 24 from deep.
Yeah.
Only 5 free throws all game for Texas Southern too, which is wow.
Yeah.
Had Texas Southern out rebounded Florida 46-23.
Yikes.
Yeah. You also
that's not the recipe for success,
yeah.
Florida.
This is despite though Texas Southern had 22 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
So you were still in it, Florida. They just could not convert anything.
Right.
And so
let me say one thing. I want some justice for the SWAC because these teams, the SWAC West in particular, they've been through it to start the year.
Oh yeah.
Southern's 3-5, Gramblin's 3-6, and then excuse me. Alcorn State, Texas Southern, Arkansas Pine Bluff, and Prairie View A&M have a combined 3 wins between the 4 of them. And let's see, quick math. 14-9 is 23-8 is 31. 31 losses on the season for them. And they've all played 1, 3, 6. They've played 9 games between everybody in the West against AP ranked teams. Some justice for the SWAC West, because they're just getting beat up in this first half of the season, except Texas Southern.
Yeah. Shout out to them for sure. They always do this every year, and I believe it was one year they played either North Carolina or Duke in the NCAA tournament as a 16 seed. And somebody asked them, was like, "Why do y'all do this?" Like, because we know we're going to get here and we can beat all the SWAC teams. And they usually only have 1 loss in the SWAC at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Which is insane. So it's like their record doesn't look great, but you got to remember they're preparing for conference with all these games.
Right.
So that's big for them. That's a big time thing for Texas Southern. They had a close game against NC State earlier this year too, and a close game against Air Force as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they've come close to knocking people off. They have road games against Rio Grande Valley, Cincinnati, TCU, and then Southern and Grambling before coming home to play Arkansas Pine Bluff on January 8th. So shout out to Texas Southern for getting the big win this week for sure over the Florida Gators. And then we'll go to the women's side, and the big news, Paige Beckers is going to be out for about 6 weeks.
Yep.
With a tibial plateau fracture. They ruled it was a non-contact injury against Notre Dame on Sunday in the Huskies win. And that really stinks. She's so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And UConn's a whole so fun to watch. Now, UConn, of course, has got all that talent, and they should be fine.
Yeah.
For a while, but I mean, between them, they have to go to Georgia Tech, who's been a lot better. UCLA, Louisville, then they start conference play, and then in the middle of conference play, they go to Oregon. They have another matchup with South Carolina where she might be back for.
Yeah.
Not sure. And you got Tennessee as well. So interesting to see how UConn responds. I think they'll be fine with Gino Auriemma, of course, his coach there.
Yeah.
But just a real shame. It really stinks for her and for all of basketball that she's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, I agree.
So looking at the women's this week, like I said, UConn, Georgia Tech's the big game on Thursday. That's at Thursday night on ESPN2. On Georgia Tech, what Nell Fortner has done there has been remarkable. Because I remember when I was down there, Georgia Tech was not very good for a while.
Yeah.
And she came in and kind of turned that program around. Michigan takes home Wisconsin that night, Thursday night as well, at 9 p.m. On Friday. NC State, number 2 in the country, making some noise, only lost to South Carolina.
Yeah.
They go to Pitt. BYU goes to Oklahoma. And Oregon State is going across the country to play Monmouth. So, interesting road trip there. Saturday, not a whole lot on Saturday. We'll go to Sunday. That's usually the prime time for the women's games. And yes, it is. You got Louisville and Kentucky. Old rivalry game. And one of the biggest rivalries in all basketball for sure. Louisville number 7, Kentucky number 14. That's going to be a big time game. Oregon State, while on their East Coast trip, will go to Villanova during this trip. Florida State plays Florida in a rivalry game. Tennessee hosts Georgia State. Texas A&M goes to TCU. Keep on looking. Cincinnati and Xavier play each other in the women's side, so it must be a rivalry weekend for some of the women. At 3 o'clock, a big time game in Columbia. South Carolina takes on number 8 Maryland. Another tough test for Dawn Staley and her crew. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to see South Carolina's best team in the country. I think they are for sure.
Yeah, well, Carolina's got a couple coming up. I mean, they play Maryland on the 12th at 3. They play at number 19 Duke on the 15th, and then they play number 4 Stanford at home. So, it might be a neutral site, but
yeah, and then
it's on.
And then they go to Missouri to start conference play. That's always a team that's given them fits over the past few years. So,
and Missouri has started out, I think, pretty good as well.
Yeah, Missouri's 8-1.
Yeah,
so, and then they have Ole Miss too after that, and Ole Miss 8-1 as well. So it don't get any easier for South Carolina for sure.
No.
So interesting to see what comes up next few weeks for them. And then of course you also have Indiana and Ohio State, big ranked matchup in the Big Ten that night as well. So that's going to do it for women's basketball and men's basketball all around. Also, we got to give a shout out to Lander. They got their rings. I saw the other day.
Yeah.
They got their rings for going to the Final Four last year in D2. Also, I thought it was funny that they played Emory and Henry. It was kind of close to the end of the first quarter. And I was like, okay, well, that's surprising. And then I saw what the final score was, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. I was about to say they capitalized on getting those rings with an emphatic 100-point scoring day against Emory and Henry. So,
yeah. So good for them. Carson Newman still rolling. Had an ugly first half against Anderson. Came up and won 70-68 over a team that was undefeated in the conference, and now they got 2 games this week against UVA Wise and Newberry on the road. So let's see what they can do. So that's gonna do it for women's basketball, and we will move on to football. And it was a conference championship weekend. A lot of fun, always a fun time to see, whose season continues, who gets their heart broken. And there were some hearts broken. We'll start on Friday. Utah and Oregon, for the second time in 3 weeks, Utah put the absolute beat down on the Ducks. This time,
smackdown, man.
38-10. I think that's the same time they being 30. Yeah, they being 38-7 last time.
Yeah, so technically Utah's defense got a little bit worse, and Oregon's offense got a little bit better. But
Utah. When Utah's on a mission, they usually will beat you and they don't care.
Yeah.
And Oregon's defense kept them in this game for a while. Because Cameron Rising for 2 bad interceptions. Here's the problem. Anthony Brown couldn't do anything either on the other side.
Right.
He threw 2 bad picks as well. And Utah destroys them 38-10 to the Utes. And that's Utah's first ever Rose Bowl. Because, again, they were in the Mountain West for all those years. And now in the Pac-12, win this game, they'll go to the Rose Bowl, first time ever. And, they already ruined the Ducks' playoff chances a couple weeks. And why not just continue ruining their hopes and dreams? Tavion Thomas, 18 carries, 63 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Utah ran for 191 yards in this one. Travis Dye tried his best for Oregon, 15 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. But when you can't throw it and you cannot stop this rushing attack of Utah, 3 rushing touchdowns for Utah in this one. And and also a pick 6 by Devin Lloyd that just killed any momentum for the Ducks. And Utah pulls away to win this one big, 38-10. And then we go down to San Antonio. This game was awesome.
Yes, it was.
All the hype lived up to all the hype. UTSA and Western Kentucky for the Conference USA Championship. UTSA wins it 49-41.
Mm-hmm.
And Western Kentucky did the exact opposite of New England the other night. They threw the ball forever.
Right.
They ran the ball. I had 16 rushes. Now that counts in sacks, of course.
Yeah.
For -9 yards. Bailey Zappi, the transfer from Houston Baptist, went 36 of 59 for 577 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks. My goodness, this kid is insane.
He shredded UTSA in the second half because UTSA was up 42-13 in this game.
Mm-hmm. UTSA was rolling in this one.
Yes.
And
UTSA got up 42-13, and Western Kentucky scored a touchdown on 4 straight drives to make it 49-41, and then came up short at the end.
Yep. Frank Harris, good quarterback for UTSA, had 19-28 for 218 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had 11 rushes for 81 yards, touchdown. Sincere McCormick was very sincere on the ground for the Roadrunners. 36 carries, 204 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This game was wild. This game was insane. Again, also, if you don't know, though, Bailey Zappi's offensive coordinator was the offensive coordinator for Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. So I should tell you something about him, who he just got the job back at Texas Tech, I believe, this week, too, which is wild. But yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. And again, shout out to UTSA. Again, team that didn't exist 10 years ago. Wins the Conference USA Championship. They go 12-1. They were ranked this year. Just great season all around for the Roadrunners. And, you know, just meep, baby. Just meep. Is all I can say. UTSA. It was also cool to see the Alamo Dome, which is a lot of history, just packed. It was kind of like the atmosphere at Gaffney. It was packed about 2 hours before the game.
Yeah.
It was packed, ready to go, and that's just really cool to see. So we go on to Saturday, and Waffle, remember what I said Georgia could not do if they wanted to go in the field? They could not screw up anything at quarterback.
Yep.
Well, they did, and they ran to also their defense ran to Bryce Young, who had the most yards ever in the SEC championship game, passing-wise. And Alabama knocks off previously undefeated Georgia 41-24. And Bryce Young goes 26 of 44 for 421 yards and 3 touchdowns in this one. It's amazing what can happen when you give him Jamison Williams back.
Listen to me. The Atlanta Braves thrived so Georgia could die. This is the price they had to pay.
Exactly.
They could not have both. We all knew that.
Yeah, this was unexpected. I was going to think Alabama could win, but I did not think they would drop 41.
No, I didn't either. I didn't think Bryce Young. Obviously, we talked about him having his Heisman moment against Auburn, and maybe scratch that. Maybe this whole game is his cementing his Heisman. 421 yards and 3 touchdowns against this defense, who has been nothing short of but the most talked about thing all year. So, yeah, props to Alabama. I mean, obviously, coming into this game, Georgia by far during the regular season looked like way ahead the best team. And they were most definitely deserving of the number 1 ranking and all the hype. But you're running into a team that, one, has Nick Saban, who we all know is amazing and an absolute god of a football coach. You're running into a team that has been here time and time again for the past 11, 12 years. They have ran college football, and everything runs through them. You're running into a team like that. You're going to have adversity thrown at you, Georgia, and boy, their freaking defense, their passing defense, they crapped the bed on this one.
Yeah, and then like I said, passing wise, Stetson Bennett 29-48 for 40 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. we'll get into it later when we talk postseason, but if they got to play again, I don't know if Stetson Bennett's the guy. And you got JT Daniels
I don't know.
there.
That's the thing. Georgia has looked so good this year.
Mm-hmm.
And they have looked so good because of their defense. It masked any kind of quarterback issue. Now, there were definitely plenty of games where Stetson Bennett looked fantastic.
Yeah.
But still, just going into it, like even though nobody expected this, and I, expected Georgia to win.
Yeah.
In the back of my mind, there's always just been like they have some serious quarterback issues. And if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks, and I'm a firm believer in that.
Exactly.
And it caught up to him.
Going back as recently as Tennessee and Missouri, he didn't play great. Now they still won 41-17, 43-6, but when your defense gives you a short field and you can do whatever you want,
yeah,
kind of works. And I'm not going to count the Charleston Southern game because he only played for a little bit of time there. He still threw a pick though against Charleston Southern.
Yeah.
And then against Georgia Tech, he had 4 touchdowns. Looked great.
Yeah.
But again, when your defense sets you up like that, you can mask some mistakes. It's kind of like what Clemson has done for a couple of years sometimes.
Right.
You get a great defense, you can mask some mistakes, and it all blows up on you at some point. And this is where it does. And again, I don't trust Kirby Smart managing quarterbacks. There's a guy named Justin Fields they didn't put in.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I'm not saying JT Daniels is next Justin Fields, but Kirby does not have a good track record with quarterbacks, and that's why it worries me. Again, can Georgia get back to the national championship game? Absolutely. I think they can. I think they can win their playoff game when we talk about it.
Right.
But, man, there's some question marks.
Yeah, for sure.
Are going to get raised. And I think because of this game and how big it was, a lot of people are starting to look at Georgia a little bit differently than they did all year.
If there's one thing, Georgia by far, I think, has the best tight end in the nation. Brock Bowers has been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He had 10 receptions for 139 yards and a touchdown. So he didn't lose this game. But
continuing on, the other game where it was winning you're in, Michigan. Oh, they won. Big time.
I told you. I thought this was going to be a blowout.
Yep. Michigan did not let them have a letdown. 42-3 over Iowa. Again, Iowa's offense has been bad all year, and boy, they ran into the wall. That was Michigan's defense.
Right.
And Michigan able to just have their way really with this Iowa team. They held Iowa to just 175 yards passing, 104 yards rushing.
Yeah.
2 and a pick thrown by Iowa. Not Spencer. Patriots didn't throw that pick, but Michigan's defense was the one that came up big, and it was still kind of close, 21-3. That's a blowout if you're playing Iowa. 21-3 is, and then 21 points in the fourth quarter to pull away. So I
would have loved nothing more than for Iowa to win this game, but there was no way they were going to. They have had zero offense for 7 weeks now. Yeah,
and it wasn't appearing against this defense that shut down Ohio State. So good for Michigan, though. Again, we said that Jim Harbaugh's got to prove it to us, and I think he's finally proven it to us.
Yeah, these past 2 games, he's proven it. Now, do I still like him? Not really, but he's props to him. He's getting it done. It took longer than I know a lot of people wanted and expected, but it's happening.
Yep. And speaking of it's happening, Cincinnati knocks off Houston 35-20 in the American Athletic Conference Championship game, 35-20. This game was close at halftime, 14-13. And then a 21-point third quarter by the Bearcats helped them pull away from the Cougars. They did what they had to do.
Yep.
They've done that all season. Desmond Ridder, 11-17, 190 yards, 3 touchdowns, also ran for 19 yards. Jerome Ford, 18 carries for 187 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
And Cincinnati, finally, a group of 5 teams going to get a chance in the playoff.
Right.
Now, God bless them because of who they have to play.
Yeah.
No forgiveness at all from the CFP committee, which we figured would happen. But still, the fact that they get a shot is huge. And, Cincinnati, Well, the crazy thing is, though, Cincinnati, it took Oregon beating Ohio State and then Oregon losing, I think, for Cincinnati to get a serious look.
Yeah.
And I think the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah. And even if now we haven't talked about the Big 12 championship game yet, but if Georgia would have beaten Alabama and that would have knocked them out, no, all that had to happen was for Oklahoma State
to win,
to beat Baylor convincingly. And then there's a very real possibility that they could have flip-flopped Cincinnati.
Yep.
And they could have kept them out.
Even if the score would have been the same for this Houston Cincinnati game, 15-point win.
Yeah.
They probably would have been like, you know what?
Yeah. If Oklahoma State would have dominated Baylor, then I could very well see them throwing the Pokes in there at number 4.
Yeah, which would have that would have set some people off.
It would have been a bunch of turmoil. But here we are. Obviously, everybody knows the storyline with Central Florida and everything that happened back. What was that? 2017? Whatever.
Yeah, 2017.
Everybody knows that storyline, and everybody, has their own opinion about it. Now the group of 5 is finally getting their shot, and I would love to see Cincinnati. I kind of treat it like Carolina Clemson this year. Like, I just want to see them be competitive.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Cincinnati has to win for the group of 5 to get the respect they deserve, but I mean, it has to be competitive.
Yeah, they have to keep it close in their playoff game. We'll tell you about who they're playing. Speaking of Oklahoma State, they fell to Baylor 21-16 thanks to one of the best goal line stands I have ever seen in my life.
Some suffocating Baylor defense.
Yeah. Baylor's defense has been quietly good as well this year. A lot of people talked about Oklahoma State's defense, but man, Oklahoma State's offense, Spencer Sanders, he was trying to throw this game away in the first half. 31 of 46, 257 yards, 4 interceptions.
You are not going to win throwing 4 picks.
Exactly. This not great. Oklahoma State's play calling wasn't great in the first half either. They ran out of shotgun at the 1-yard line and fumbled it. In the first half, to end the first half. But their defense locked down after Blake Shapen went 23 of 28, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. They shut him down second half. So props to Oklahoma State defense.
When Sanders is throwing 4 picks and Blake Shapen throws 3 touchdowns in the first half, you're not going to lose. I mean, you're going to lose. Baylor didn't score a single point in the second half, and they didn't have to.
Exactly. And, just a great play at the very end. Desmond Jackson gets tackled short of the line. Pylon cam is the greatest invention of all time. You can literally see he's this close. Being in Jaron McVay knocks him out of bounds with 24 seconds remaining to get the win on 4th and goal. And the Bears win the Big 12 title. What Dave Aranda's done there, because this is a Baylor team that kind of gets forgotten a lot, especially since RG3 and everything that went down. LeVar Browse, who's burning in hell right now, who he deserves to be.
Right.
And they've had to rebuild their image up and rebuild that team up. And Dave Aranda is, last year only won 2 games.
Yeah.
And I get last year was crazy and everything else going on. And now they're number 9 in the country. They finished 11-2 Big 12 champions, and they're going to a big-time bowl game. Just a heck of a job by Dave Aranda, and heartbreak for Oklahoma State.
Well, just to put it in perspective for you of how, even with last year being a COVID year and being wild, how massive a turnaround that is. South Carolina won 2 games last year. That would be like South Carolina turning it around and going 11-2. Just to put that in perspective for you, like how amazing that is for Baylor and how good they have done to rebuild that image after everything that did happen. And obviously they've been they used to get thrown around and they used to suck back before RG3 and all them boys and when before Browse was the head coach. And then they built it up, and then obviously it came crashing down. And now they've done a great job to build it back up again, and they're back at the top of the Big 12 and playing good football, and looks like their image is going to stay good for at least for right now, and they're going to be competitive for years to come. So so congrats to them for sure for Baylor, but once again heartbreak for Oklahoma State after getting that win in Bedlam. And here's my one gripe about that. the play that they ran was fine. And I thought that he had enough leverage when he came down to the bottom of the screen that if he didn't try to go for the pylon, I thought he could lower his shoulder and just go into the defender, and he had a better shot of reaching the end zone than going for the pylon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those judgment calls, and he just kind of messed up on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good play call, though. But, man, good job of Baylor's defense to stand up strong, especially with their offense just doing nothing for the last 30 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
ACC championship, Pitt and Wake Forest. Again, RIP to the D quarter. But at least it was Pitt. At least it was Pitt.
Yeah, for sure.
45-21 touchdown. The first quarter of this game was everything we wanted. 21-14.
Yeah.
Back and forth craziness. And then Pitt's defense woke up.
Yeah.
And they had 2 straight turnovers that they scored off of. And then, but man, Kenny Pickett. I'm telling you all year, this guy deserves a look at the Heisman, and he's getting it.
Yep.
20 of 33, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, had that rushing touchdown with the crazy fake slide or whatever. Wild running back Israel Abakanada for Pitt, 9 carries, 55 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Addison at 8 catches for 126 yards. Just, again, this is the title game I wanted once Clemson got knocked out. And it lived up to my expectations for the most part, except for Pitt pulling away in the second half. I did not see that happening.
Yeah, me either.
I'm still going to give hats off to Sam Hartman. He did struggle. 21-46, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 picks.
Yeah.
I got to give up to Sam Hartman, though, for a heck of a year. This is a kid who got benched. His second year at Wake Forest, was going to transfer out. Had a brother that committed suicide during his freshman season or senior season of high school. He's had every reason to quit.
Yeah.
And he still comes out and plays for Wake Forest. Again, Wake Forest is not a historical powerhouse at all.
No, not at all.
This is their second ever ACC championship game appearance. They've won 1 in 2006.
Yeah.
And to lead them to this 10-3 record, I know it didn't end the way they wanted. They have a bowl game that's big time. But, man, I got to give props to Sam Hartman for sure. Heck of a person, heck of a quarterback. Hopefully Wake is back in this position for a while. Hopefully it's not, 15 years before they get back in a position to be competitive again.
Right.
But just shout out to him for sure and all he's done.
Yeah.
In a great year. And then shout out to Kenny Pickett too, of course, a guy that I think gets overlooked because he plays in the ACC. But had a heck of a year and he's going to get rewarded. Hopefully gets rewarded with a trip to New York at least. This weekend. So.
I want to hear your opinion on the fake slide because that is becoming kind of a hot button topic.
I mean, I get why you get taught now because if the quarterback starts sliding, you're not supposed to go in.
Yeah.
That's just a good athletic play, though, I think.
I think so, too. And a lot of people's main gripe is saying that it's, dirty and exploiting the rule.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I agree. I mean, he's trying to win a football game. So, I mean, do what you can. Do what you can to win. Obviously, that's within your means and not doing, anything that's necessarily dirty.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is it's not against the rules. They have that rule in place, which is fine. Now, had he slid later in the game and he
got popped,
was he going to get blown up? Absolutely. And if I was Wake Forest, I would blow him up too.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a heck of a the IQ. Like that's such a smart play by him.
That's just a smart play by Kenny Pickett.
And I have no issue with it.
Yeah, not at all. That's just a good play by a good quarterback. I mean, continue on championship games. Utah State blows out San Diego State. Punt God was busy.
Punt God definitely got to show off his talents.
46-13. Logan Bonner, 29-42, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. This is a good Utah State offense going against a San Diego State offense that is horrible.
Yeah.
And it showed, but the punt God did have a solid day, I believe.
He only had 3.
Only had 3 punts, 147 yards and 1 touchback on a long of 57. So not a great showing for the punt God.
Okay. And listen to their drives. This is crazy because San Diego State first drive, just going in order of San Diego State drives. They punted, then they punted again,
Yeah.
They turned it over on downs. They punted. It says they punted a fourth time. I wonder who punted.
He got hurt.
Anyways, they punted and they missed a field goal and they scored a field goal. So it's 14-3 at halftime. Their drives in the second half, they did not punt in the second half, but they only managed to score 10 points and had the ball 6 times. Safety, field goal, fumble, downs, touchdown, downs.
Yeah. I ain't gonna win any games. This game was close at halftime. It's 14-3 at halftime too.
Yeah.
So Utah State, shout out to the Aggies. Their offense woke up and
shout out to them. 10-win season for Utah State.
Yeah. It's a good Utah State's team I always remember just being like one of the worst teams of all time, and they just come out of nowhere. Every couple of years they have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And they go off and end up doing pretty good. So good for them. Sun Belt Championship game, Louisiana and App State. This is another big time game, and Louisiana wins this one 24-16 without Billy Napier.
Yep.
Of course, Billy Napier now the coach at Florida, and Levi Lewis gets the win, 15-30, 210 yards, and a touchdown for the Ragin' Cajuns as they knock off App State at home.
Louisiana's only loss on the season was that early season loss to Texas. So
yeah, and they were competitive in that game the entire way through. So yeah, Louisiana, they were one game away from maybe not being like a Cincinnati, but
yeah, I mean,
undefeated. So
yep, that's true.
Interesting team. Billy Napier, what he's done down there is huge.
Yeah.
You hope they can keep it up down Lafayette. And continue their success. Also, Imani Bailey, you gotta get a shout out to him. 14 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, he had a good game against Texas earlier in the year.
Can we fight for a group of 5 14 playoff between like Louisiana, UTSA, maybe I guess Northern Illinois and
Utah State?
Yeah,
I think we can do that.
That'd be fun.
I think I'd fine with me, for sure.
Or maybe give Cincinnati the option. Give Cincinnati the option to play in that one, the big one.
Yeah, and then I guess Notre Dame slides in if they want
it. Yeah.
So Notre Dame's like, come on, man, come on.
Put Baylor in, you cowards.
Speaking of Northern Illinois, they win the MAC championship 41-23. Northern Illinois goes from 0-6 to 9-4 in MAC champions. Insane turnaround for the Huskies. Just wild. Again, this with Rocky Lombardi at quarterback. You remember him from Michigan State? He was that quarterback all year. Didn't have to do a whole lot, but the rushing game did. Jay Ducker, 29 carries, 146 yards. You also have Clint Ratkovich, the Rat Dog. Coolest nickname. Had a touchdown run. This is a good defense, too, for Northern Illinois as they just poured it on Kent State. We got to give a shout out to Kent State with Sean Lewis, what he's done there.
Yeah.
Kent State, they're just 7-6, went 6-2 in the MAC. But there were a few years ago, Kent State was legitimately one of the worst football teams in all the country. They played Clemson in Sean Lewis's first game.
Yeah.
And that was Kelly Bryant's first game at quarterback Clemson. And Clemson, I think, was up 49-3 at halftime.
Yeah.
And now I'm not saying to go out and beat the ACC team, but to get to a conference championship.
Yeah.
In like 4 or 5 years, that's a heck of a job.
Yeah. They went 3-9 in 2016, and then they went 2-8, or excuse me, 2-10 in 17 and 18. So they've risen from the bottom. Oh, in 2015 they went 3-9 as well. Oh, and they were 2-9 in 2014. It just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, they've been bad for a while. So
yeah.
And then
they were 11-3 in 2012. So they've just taken a little bit of a break, but now they're back.
And then finally, the game of the weekend, Cal beats USC 24-14, a game that absolutely did not matter.
A game that everybody just waited and waited for that Pac-12 after dark, that final taste.
This is it. There's your final taste. Cal stormed the field after this game, by the way, which is incredibly
more power to them. I mean, go ahead, storm the field, bring USC to the lowest of lows before Lincoln Riley takes over.
Yeah. That's all I can say is Cal won. Both teams are not going bowling at all. This game meant nothing literally nothing. So, oh yeah, that's a championship weekend for the FBS. And now we have our college football playoff. It's number 1 Alabama against number 4 Cincinnati. And then number 2 Michigan against number 3 Georgia. And Waff, I think they got it right. Now, maybe seeding, I think Michigan and Alabama could have been 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But I think they were trying to avoid that SEC rematch for good reason. And I think Alabama did enough to get that 1 spot with the big win over Georgia's defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it took Oregon winning and then Oregon losing and then Oklahoma State losing and then everything else happening for Cincinnati to make it. But finally, there was no argument, I think, for Notre Dame to jump Cincinnati. There was no argument for really anybody else in the top 10 to jump Cincinnati.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe Baylor, but they had 2 losses, so you kind of couldn't establish that.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for them to try, and I think Curve Street tried.
Yeah.
But no, Cincinnati's finally in. Again, this is a tall task. They're 13.5-point underdogs right now. That line will either grow or shrink before this game happens on December 31st.
Yeah.
Cotton Bowl. But I think they got it right. I just want Cincinnati to be competitive.
Yeah. The only thing, the main argument is seeding wise, because I think this is definitely the correct 4 teams. But if you put Michigan at 1, like I guess they kind of should be, you would have to put Georgia at 4, and I just don't think you can't put Georgia because they're not going to make Alabama and Georgia play 2 games in a row.
No,
and that's just a simple fact. So that's just a bad luck of the draw there if you're a Michigan Wolverine not getting the 1 seed for the playoff. But
if you're the only reason I can see Cincinnati getting the 3 over and Georgia dropping all the way to 4 is if Alabama would have won like 59-17.
Yeah.
And that's a big if, because I think of what Georgia did all year long. You have to look at what they did all year long.
Right.
And I think that holds up. So
yeah. But I think Georgia Michigan is going to be a knockdown drag out. It's gonna be a fun game. And like you said, like we both said, I just want Cincinnati to be competitive. I don't necessarily know if it will be, but Alabama's kind of rolling. Bryce Young's doing his thing, so we'll see.
Yeah. Bryce Young, like we said, I think has his Heisman moments the past 2 weeks. That Auburn drive and then the Georgia game on national TV. Everybody watching, really kind of cemented himself. And speaking of the Heisman, that's this weekend, and your finalists are Bryce Young from Alabama, Kenny Pickett from Pitt, C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, and then I keep forgetting this kid's name from Michigan. Hutchinson, that's his name? I
think so, yeah.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, I believe. Defensive lineman getting in there.
That's big.
Yeah.
He 100% won't win, but that is big.
Yeah. Some people are saying, Will Anderson, the linebacker from Alabama, should have gotten in.
Yeah.
I personally think Jordan Davis from Georgia should have gotten a finalist look.
Yeah.
Because I think the Georgia defense problem is the same problem Clemson's defense has had a couple of years where everybody's good.
Yeah.
And you just have to account for everybody. And Jordan Davis didn't have a whole lot of stats, but he did impact the game by plugging holes and all this stuff. Sam Hartman, I think, would have been in if he would have had a better performance against Pitt. Or at least would have gotten more votes probably. I haven't seen what the full 10 list looks like.
Yeah.
And then where's Matt Ariza at?
This is ridiculous.
Where is Punt God?
What if somebody beats him out for the Ray Guy Award? I will riot.
Oh my God. There's no way he loses the Ray Guy Award. And then of course other guy, I would say Bailey Zappi in there, but again, Western Kentucky went 8-5, so I get it. Wow. Yeah. He wouldn't get looked at too. But
but do you honestly think they would have won more than 2 games without him?
That's true. If we treat this as a most valuable player award, who's the most valuable to their team? Bryce Young probably is the most valuable, and Kenny Pickett.
Yes, 100%
are the most valuable for sure. C.J. Stroud, I think for sure showed that.
Alabama doesn't beat Auburn without Bryce Young. Kenny Pickett. Definitely Pitt does not win all the games they do without Kenny Pickett.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Will Anderson, there's a big argument for him, stat-wise for sure. But I think also Bama's defense just kind of got lost a little bit this year. They didn't look good at times.
Yeah.
Like the Arkansas game, they didn't look great against.
Yeah.
They looked
But
fine.
now when it matters, they're figuring it out. So
Yeah. So, and that's all that matters. And I think Hutchinson just came up so clutch in the Ohio State game, the Iowa game, and then just the very end of the season for Michigan, where I can see that. So, is he the first guy since Ndamukong Suh to go, or maybe Manti Te'o, to go to the ceremony on defense?
It's gotta be Teo. I think it's before him. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's Te'o. I have to look and see. Defensive player hasn't won it in forever, so probably not.
Last defensive player to win it was what, Woodson?
I think so. Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah. No, that's right.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, probably not going to. I think it's going to be Bryce Young, and I think that's the one guy we predicted at the beginning of the year that we got right.
Yeah, my God, our picks were terrible.
Yeah, I think I had JG Daniels, DJ Uyangale, and somebody else. I did not have Bryce Young, and then we had De'Aaron King on there too. So
you had Spencer Rattler.
Oh my God, I did have Spencer Rattler,
the future Gamecock.
yeah.
What? And I had Sam Howell, who's probably about to play to a Heisman level against the Gamecocks.
Yeah.
Isn't it great? Aren't we all excited to go back to Charlotte?
Yeah, let's talk bowl games for our team. So Clemson, if you had Clemson going to the Cheez-It Bowl at the beginning of the year, raise your hand. None of y'all did.
Put your hand down. You're lying. I know you're lying.
They'll play Iowa State in the Cheez-It Bowl. The line is even right now, which I think is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I just want stupidity because the Cheez-It Bowl is a dumb bowl game anyway.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to top that Cal TCU game from a few years ago, the Cheez-It Bowl. That's the dumbest football game I've ever watched. And it was at like 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, and everybody stayed up and watched it because we're all idiots.
Yeah.
And watched the TCU quarterback with drop foot throw a touchdown pass. That's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was so dumb. I want that. It's going to be interesting for Clemson because Clemson hasn't had the challenge of, where players opt out before bowl games because they've been to the playoffs the past few years. They've already had Tyson Pomachuk and Frank Ladson have transferred out.
Yeah.
So they'll be unavailable. And then, of course, Clemson's still banged up. And then, of course, the big news, there's no defensive coordinator because Brent Venables is going to be the head coach of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And this is a thing that I kind of expected, but was still shocked by.
Yeah.
Because he was there from 2004 to 2011 and was the guy next in line when Bob Stoops was going to retire.
Yeah.
And then this kid, Lincoln Riley, comes up in ECU, comes on over, and they're like, hey, we're going to look at this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Venables, understandably, not happy about that, leaves, goes to Clemson. And my God, if you look at the defense before he got there, Kevin Steele, by the way, I can tell you how to beat Kevin Steele. Just throw a slant.
Yeah.
Because that's all you need to do against Clemson's first slants, and you get 8 yards a catch.
Right.
Since then, Clemson ranked in the top 10 in sacks every single year and tackles for loss every single year except for one. And they still ranked in the top 20.
Mm-hmm.
2 national championships during that time, 7 ACC titles, won countless games. You had the defensive line recruits, Christian Wilkins, all those guys on the defense, Isaiah Simmons, countless guys I could just list off and name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think it was kind of surprising too, because I thought he'd be like a Bud Foster guy where he's like, just let me do the defense. Someone else handle all the bull crap that comes with being a head coach, like talking to boosters, publicity,
the
hardcore recruiting. I thought he'd be kind of like that.
Yeah.
And instead, he just wanted it. He just really wanted that Oklahoma job.
Mm-hmm.
And it came open because of Lincoln Riley leaving out of nowhere. And, there were the rumors last week. And Brent Venables was out there recruiting in Kansas.
Yeah.
It's close by. And I guess he decided to mosey on over to Oklahoma. And signed the deal late Sunday night, flew on the plane, and he's now the coach of the Sooners. So I hate it personally. Because he from all accounts a great person too. Not just a great coach.
Yeah.
But also, he changed Clemson, I think, around because Clemson, has had a good offense. They've had good quarterbacks. Before him, they had Charlie Whitehurst. Colin Harper was a solid quarterback. Taj Boyd had just started at quarterback there. Pretty good offenses. And they still would have had a good offense, I think, if there were no Brent Venables, because you still have gotten it if you still get Deshaun Watson in there and Trevor Lawrence in there and Kelly Bryant in there.
Yeah.
And all those receivers. Clemson doesn't win some of these national championships, some of these games if it's not for the defense. And I mean, You saw against Notre Dame a few years ago in the rain. Clemson has to get a goal line stand to win that one.
Yeah.
You saw games this year Clemson had to win because of the defensive schemes and everything Venables brought.
Yeah.
So I don't know where it goes from here with Clemson. They're losing a lot of defensive players. A lot of those guys came back last year.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see who they get. Now, I think the one guy they should look at is Manny Diaz.
Yes, 100%.
You don't know Manny Diaz was, first of all, Miami did him dirty.
That whole situation is crazy, and I want to shed some light on that as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit, but man, I think Manny Diaz is the first guy you call if you're Clemson, and but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see going to this bowl game who opts out, who's still there, who's still playing. And what Clemson does, how they treat this bowl game. Clemson also might move out their offensive coordinator because Tony Elliott is interviewing for the Duke job.
Right.
And the Virginia job.
Hear me out on this.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out on this. Now, I'm obviously, I would, I'm going to stay serious. Hear me out on this. Clemson, with a vacant OC and a vacant DC, if they can fill those roles with Manny Diaz, and then at OC, if they could fill it with, say, Dan Mullen.
Okay. I can see the Mullen working.
Because, obviously we talk about some people just aren't cut out to be head coaches. And
yeah, right.
I don't necessarily think that's the case with Dan Mullen. It just didn't work out at Florida because obviously he was great at Mississippi State, a team that's
he had good years at Florida too.
He's
didn't recruit well.
I'm sure he'd be a heck of a coordinator. Manny Diaz is a fine defensive coordinator. And we've said this about Muschamp before. Obviously Muschamp, not a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator, he can get it done.
Yeah.
But I think that would be obviously that's just the big name tandem. Yeah. But that'd be kind of crazy.
The only other one I consider because he has ties, maybe Willie Corn at Coastal.
Okay. Yeah.
Because of that offense they run.
Yeah.
Similar to Clemson's, and he went into Clemson for a couple, so you have ties to the area. That's a big step, I think.
Yes, it is.
But he's young,
step.
And you can kind of maybe look at him and look at that. The only other one I would look at would have been the guy at Western Kentucky, but he got picked up so quick by Texas Tech that there's no way. That's where he was first, so.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens with all that coming up. And we'll talk about more this Miami situation next. But we'll talk about bowl games the next day, December 30th, 11:30 a.m., bright and early. North Carolina, South Carolina, the Dukes Mayo Bowl. South Carolina going back to this bowl game. They went to the last ever Belk Bowl against Virginia. It didn't work out well.
No, we didn't. We didn't go. That didn't happen.
Yeah. And then Sam Howell has already said he's going to play this game.
Yeah.
Waff? How you feeling, man? Because Clemson's offense, it was horrible. Dropped 30 on South Carolina. And now you got to play the UNC offense that can score a lot.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, I'm extremely excited to be going to a bowl game because in the first year of Beamer because nobody expected that. I definitely didn't expect it. You didn't expect it. I think a lot of people didn't expect it. And that was something that we said from the beginning that if South Carolina was able to make it to 6 wins, that is an incredible season, no matter how we did it, no matter what losses we took, no matter what wins we got. That's an incredible season. And still so excited for the future. But as much as I don't want to go back to Charlotte just because the last 2 times we've been there, one against North Carolina, the game where
that's right.
the game Jake that Millie. We blew, pretty much Jake Millie broke his whatever. and was out for the rest of the year. And Sam Howell, that was his first game. He was a freshman. And we lost that one. And obviously we did not show up against Virginia and got murdered. So, but we have had success there. The game before that was the NC State game where Deebo Samuel made the one-handed catch from Jake Bentley. And then the game before that was in a terrible year for Carolina. It was 3-9 the year we lost to the Citadel, but we did beat North Carolina in that stadium at the beginning of the year. But
that was North Carolina's only loss until they lost to Clemson in the championship game. So
yeah, that's also crazy. Carolina's starting quarterback was Connor Mitch.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so.
What a name.
Anyway, this is a massive game, not just for South Carolina to have a winning season for the first time in a while, for the first time since 2017. Yeah. It's a massive game in terms of recruiting because obviously South Carolina, North Carolina, we're obviously recruiting against each other consistently. This is huge for Beamer to come out there. And if they can get an advantage over Mac Brown, who obviously has a lot of hype coming back and has had a couple good years at North Carolina, showed a lot of promise. Now they underachieved this year, but this is a big game recruiting wise. It's going to be fun. 11:30 in the morning is interesting. Also, I'm supposed to work that day. So this is going to be like the first time in my life that I'm not going to be like off for a bowl game. So I don't really know how to feel, but you know what? We'll figure it out. Maybe I can just leave work at 11 and come back at 4. Maybe I wonder how that would go over, but
just have Todd Ellis play on the radio the entire time.
Yeah. Great.
That's what people want to hear when they walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting game, I think. Interesting to see who else stays for North Carolina and for South Carolina. Of course, I think South Carolina more people stay because it's their first bowl game in a while.
Yeah.
For sure. So, it's going to be an interesting game, I think.
The only one I'll be looking for is Enagbare, the defensive end, because he's slated to be a high draft pick, and we'll see what he does, if he's going to play or if he's going to go ahead and get out. But, we'll see.
Interesting thing I'll talk about Clemson and Iowa State. I didn't really talk about the game too much. Interesting to see what Brock Purdy and Bryce Hall, or Breece Hall, excuse me. I think that's going to be their final game together. So that's an interesting matchup. Like obviously, the past 3-4 years, like we expect to see Clemson playing the likes of whoever makes the playoff. Like it would probably be an Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State, somebody, but Oklahoma. It's an intriguing game.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see Clemson play a different Big 12 team not named Oklahoma. And we'll see. And Iowa State's obviously been up and down. A lot of hype for the last couple of years. I think I love Matt Campbell. I think he's a great coach. Yeah. But it's gonna be fun. Yeah, interesting game. What's funny is the last time Clemson was in this stadium for a bowl game was the last time they weren't in the playoff, Russell Athletic Bowl in 2014, and Deshaun Watson was out in that game. He did not start. It was what was his name? Oh God, I cannot remember who that quarterback was for that game. It wasn't Cole Stout, was it? Yeah, Cole Stout. Cole Stout's final game. How could you forget him? He was so good. Yeah, I loved him. Oh, you did, of course. He came in. He came in 2014, the first year that started the current streak of Clemson wins for Deshaun Watson, who, mind you, if you didn't watch this game, Deshaun Watson beat us on a torn ACL, and he did not throw the ball. Well, he did technically. He pushed past, and they beat the ever-loving mess out of us. But Cole Stout came in and threw a pick, and that's why I respect that man. I remember that. He tried. They had started next week, and he threw for 300 yards against Oklahoma. So yeah, big fan. Cole Stout went out the way he should go out, man. I can give him that. And at least I can tell Brent Venables he went out shutting out South Carolina. So I think everybody forgives him for that. Yeah. So interesting. Going to be an interesting bowl season. We have 3 bowl games for each of us that we think were interesting. Besides the college football playoff games, we're going to do more of an in-depth look at all the bowl games later. Wait, stop. Before we do this, I just got an update to my phone. You just talked about Tony Elliott. Yeah. For the Duke job. Yeah. Duke is looking at Jason Garrett. I saw that. For the head coach. No, please, God, no. It's going to be like the entire sideline. No. What did he do? Go work with Daniel Jones for half a season? He was like, yeah, I think I'm going to Duke. No. Y'all got more of them down there? No. Okay, cool. Please, no. You can't go from Cutcliffe to Jason Garrett. Oh my God. A lot of you people probably, oh, Jason Garrett was the NFL head coach. What is David Cutcliffe David Cutcliffe is a legend, and he is always going to be a better head coach than Jason Garrett.
David Cutcliffe coached both Manning brothers. I mean, come on.
Oh my God. All right, continue. That's ridiculous.
Funny name for that job. It won't happen. I kind of want Lane Kiffin.
Please.
It will never happen. But it
will not. Why on God's green earth would he do that? But
that's probably about Ole Miss. I was like, yes, do it, Lane. Do it. We'll roll into these bowl games real quick. The ones that we're previewing. We'll start off. My first one that I'm looking forward to is the Celebration Bowl between Jackson State and South Carolina State. That's the MEAC champion. It's the SWAC champion. Deion Sanders, man, Jackson State has broken the record for most people at FCS game 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Had 58,000 people at Jackson State for the SWAC championship game this past week. They won. The Tigers only have 2 losses this season. They've looked good. South Carolina State had a rough start, but finished up, I believe, 8-3. They're going to be fresher. They haven't played in a month, so they haven't had to play in a while. Our South Carolina State with Buddy Pugh. South Carolina State, of course, 2 years ago, if you remember, Malcolm Long from Gaffney won 4 straight MEAC titles. He's the only quarterback to ever do that.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's their first MEAC title since he graduated. So that's crazy to see South Carolina State do that. But that's going to be a crazy game. I'm interested to see how many people show up from Jackson State, because that's in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, and so it might be packed.
It might be
for that one. So that'll be interesting matchup to see. I'm just interested to see that. See how many people are there. And our next one, the Gasparilla Bowl. Sadly, not the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl anymore. Rest in peace.
Whack.
I know. I don't remember who the sponsor is now. But it's UCF and Florida. And remember, UCF fought for years to get this matchup when they were really good, and Florida did not want any part of it.
Yep.
Now they're going to play in 2028 or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And then Florida was garbage this year, and the bowl people were like, we know where we're sending you. We know who you're playing. And I'm just excited because there's going to be a fight in this game.
Mm-hmm.
You know there is. There's always one bowl game each year that gets so chippy. And it's usually because of people that know each other on the sidelines. And these are in-state guys that probably know each other. And some of them probably have talked down to some of these guys at UCF because they didn't go to an SEC school. And even though Florida has had the worst year, that's going to be interesting to see what happens in that game. And I'm just excited because that's going to be it's going to feel like a big time bowl game, and it's not a big time bowl game. It's going to feel like a playoff game.
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited for that one for sure. And then finally, the Holiday Bowl between UCLA and NC State. First of all, this game, because again, there's no football stadium in San Diego. Where are they playing it? They're playing at Petco Park.
You stupid.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. Secondly, you have Dennis Leary, who throws the ball 400 times a game and is consistent, against Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who goes 4 of 19 for 500 yards a game.
Right.
The over-under is already 60. So I'm very excited to see what happens in this one when these two teams meet. Also, an additional one I want to add, I forgot about this one. The Liberty Bowl is Mississippi State and Texas Tech. It's Mike Leach against his former school. And they're going back to Memphis where they had that heartbreaking loss to the Tigers earlier in the year. And the over-under also 60. Yeah, they're going to break the scoreboard in that one. So
yeah,
I just wanted to add that one in there too.
Yeah.
Waff, what are your bowl games you're excited for besides the South Carolina one and, of course, the playoff?
3 of them that I'm excited for. I'll start with my two bigger games. The Peach Bowl in Atlanta between Pitt with Kenny Pickett and Michigan State with the running back Walker III. I think that's going to be a great matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I would like to see Kenny Pickett go out on a high note and win this game. 2 offenses that are pretty good for different reasons. Michigan State has such a good running game, and Pitt has such a good passing game with Kenny Pickett. But Pitt's rushing defense, they're only allowing 91 yards a game. So I'm most intrigued to see how Walker does. Walker's got 1,600 rushing yards on the season. I'm very interested to see how he does against this Pitt run defense that has been surprisingly good. So And that one's no crazy stadium here. It's just in Atlanta. But and the other one I wanted to do the Sugar Bowl with oh God. Give me 2 seconds. I'm pulling it up real quick. Oh my God, my computer's being weird.
Oh, I got it.
I know it's Ole Miss and Baylor. So
yeah,
Ole Miss and Baylor. I think these are two teams that are extremely hot right now. Baylor obviously coming off a Big 12 championship win. And Ole Miss just, I would always consider Ole Miss hot because they have like Lane Given, like they're just hot in the sense of they can score. I feel like they could probably play with anybody.
Yeah.
Two good offenses. Baylor's defense is going to be something interesting to watch here against this Ole Miss offense led by Matt Corral in his last stand as the Ole Miss quarterback before he hightails it for the NFL. That one's going to be fun. Excuse me. That game's also nothing fancy, just in the Superdome. Baylor is a 1.5 point favorite, which is a little. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that's surprising to me, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But probably the one that I'm most excited about that I think is going to be a great game that I haven't really heard anybody talk about is the Music City Bowl in Nashville between Tennessee and Purdue. I think this game's going to be great. Tennessee's offense obviously scores a little bit more points than Purdue, but make no mistake, Purdue can put up points. Their last couple games, they scored 44, 32, 31, 40, and 28. So, and two of those were against Ohio State and Michigan State. So, this Purdue team's got a very good offense that I think will be able to score with Tennessee, who also obviously has a prolific offense. And I'm very excited to see that one. That one I just think is going to be freaking a knockdown drag out. The over under 63.5. So probably be looking at a 35-30 game there. I think that'd be a really good one.
Yeah, that's what I love. How if you look on December 30th, the over unders, Mayo Bowl is 57.5, Music City Bowl 63, Peach Bowl 63.5. Then you get to the Las Vegas Bowl from Wisconsin, Arizona State 42.5.
Yeah, you.
So you got 3 games that could go crazy, and then there's one that's like, nah, we're gonna put it in park. Yeah, we'll talk about again coaching changes once again. Like we said, Jason Garrett to Duke is rumored.
Please no.
I don't want that at all. Yeah, I really don't want that. But we'll talk again. Manny Diaz and this Miami thing. So Miami won Mario Cristobal. Everybody won Mario Cristobal out in Oregon, and Miami goes and hires Dan Radakovic from Clemson as the AD first.
Also surprising.
Yeah, really surprised move. I think, if they rebuild their basketball arena, we got to look at what it looks like because he's built the same arena twice.
Yeah.
Because the Georgia Tech and Clemson basketball arenas look exactly the same now. So if he builds another one, now hold on a minute, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was surprising too. So he's gone. And then they contact Mario Cristobal, who just signed an extension.
Yeah.
Oregon. Miami is throwing. They paid Manny Diaz, and they are actively recruiting Mario Cristobal to come to Miami, while Manny Diaz is out recruiting for Miami.
That's what I have the most issue with. Like, I don't care about your opinion of Manny Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just don't. You don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you 100%. You have to fire Manny Diaz.
Yeah.
Before you come out publicly saying, yeah, I mean, we're going after Cristobal, like we want him, while you've still got Manny Diaz doing your dirty work. Like, come on, bro. That's so stupid. Like,
Mike Ryan of Dan Le Batard show was the first person to break this. And he broke this like a week ago. And they've been like trying to confirm it and stuff. And they confirmed it. It's like, yeah, we're getting Mario Cristobal. It's like, just like you get like it's scummy, of course, to do that to somebody. But also, it's like, what the heck are you telling these recruits? Because these recruits are going to be like, they're talking to Manny Diaz, and they may not know if he's going to be there.
Yeah.
And then, like at least UConn, that told him at the beginning of the year, after the third game of the season, they told all the assistants, hey, y'all are done at the end of the year.
Yeah.
At least they told them.
Yeah.
At least they had a heads up so they could go look for another job. Manny Diaz is out recruiting.
Yeah.
And now, like I said, I really hope Clemson gets him. I think he'll be a perfect fit for Clemson, but it's just a scummy way they did it to him. And also, Miami is paying now. They're paying $8 million to buy out Diaz, $9 million to buy out Cristobal's extension, and then they're going to pay $8 million to Cristobal.
Yeah.
So you've just burned, what's that, $26 million roughly?
Yeah.
Hope it works.
Hope it works, and you go after a coach. I'm not saying Cristobal's bad, but you go after a coach who has been there and had hype over the past couple of years, but cannot get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, he can't beat Utah. They got smacked twice by Utah by almost the exact same score. They got outscored 38 times 2 is what, 76?
Mm-hmm.
They gave up 76 points and scored 17. And you're going to bring him down to Miami. At least it looks like Miami has a quarterback of the future now.
Yeah. Tyler Van Dyke looks really good. They have a quarterback now. But, man, Miami, the past few years.
Yeah.
Other than that Mark Richt season, guess what happened? They lost to Clemson 38-3.
Yeah, they had that one season with Mark Richt, and it still ended the same way.
Mm-hmm.
At least ACC-wise. I can't remember if they won the bowl game. But
I think they lost the bowl game, too. I think they lost the last 3 games of the year. I'm pretty sure they lost to Pitt. Yeah, they lost to Pitt because they were like number 4. And they lost to Clemson. And I think they lost their bowl game to Wisconsin. But yeah. I don't – again, I'm not going to – like with USC, like with Michigan before this year, like with Texas, all these blue bloods that were blue bloods back in the early 2000s that have just fallen hard times, unless I see it.
Right. That's what I was about to say. Now it looks like Michigan might have done that. Now, if they can cement that, I think Michigan can be officially back. They don't have to win a national title. They just got to get there.
They won the Big Ten, beat Ohio State. I think they're back for sure.
Yeah. So, but it's the same thing with these other ones. Texas.
No.
Until I see it, I'm not believing in you.
Mm-hmm.
Southern Cal, a tremendous upside with Lincoln Riley, but until I see it,
yeah. So
and especially Miami.
Yep. Gotta see it. And it'll be interesting to see. I think he's a good coach, but I don't know if he can win the big one. Right now, the big one in front of you is Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
I think still going to be good.
Yeah.
Next year. Heck, they couldn't beat Florida State this year.
Yeah.
And Florida State was garbage.
Yeah, you got to consistently win that rivalry game.
Mm-hmm. And
especially now that both teams are on the same level.
Exactly.
But they're on the same level of like middle of the road. They're not the same level of like, oh yeah, we're both good. But
yeah, like again, Miami is getting laughed by Wake Forest right now. And that is a sentence that should not be said. I think
Miami and Florida State have had some battles over the years. Obviously, those 80s, 90s, early 2000s battles were elite. And then when Miami started to slip up and they started the Randy Shannon era, and they started to suck. They finally got back on the same level with Florida State, whether that be not necessarily Miami getting better, but Florida State getting worse, and you still can't beat them consistently.
Exactly.
So
you gotta show me.
Yep.
And it's gotta be consistent because again, they like I said, they upset Pitt this year, and a few years ago in that Mark Richt season, they beat Notre Dame when they were good.
Yeah.
Gotta see it consistently. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. The other coaching job I am intrigued by for sure is 2 ones I'm sure for next year. One, Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech. A 7-year contract. And what have you done?
Nothing.
You almost beat Clemson. That's about it.
Almost.
And if only there was a offense that you could run when you have limited players.
Right.
And their best running back, I don't know if you saw Jahmyr Gibbs, he transferred out. So,
well,
they're getting restless down in Atlanta, and their first game of the season next year is on Labor Day against Clemson. And also Steve Sarkisian down in Texas. Week 2, they play Alabama. And I ain't seen nothing to show me that Texas is going to compete in that game.
If the monkey's still around, he ain't never going to do it.
Y'all got to get rid of Paul Assassin.
He ain't never going to win at Texas if the monkey's still around.
I completely forgot about that for a while. God. Yeah. So that's interesting. only one game to talk about this week in college football, and it's a big one. It's Army-Navy in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Army 8-3, Navy 3-8. Don't care what the record is.
Yeah, throw it out the window.
These two teams together. Army's a 7.5-point favorite. Over under 34. They're gonna have decent weather this year, though. 67.
Whack. I know. It's so good when it snows.
Mm-hmm. When it snows, it's so great. If you haven't seen the uniforms this year, too, so sick. The desert camo for Army to honor the 20th anniversary of soldiers entering Iraq. Navy with the Fly Navy pilots to honor the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, which is today when we're recording. So good to see those. And of course, our friend Trey Childress has been to that game twice. He says, if you go to that game, you got to go like 2 hours before.
Yeah. He said you definitely have to take it in.
Yeah. It's a bucket list item for sure. Waffle, you got to go up to West Point a few years ago when they played Duke, and just a wild experience.
It's amazing
for that experience. Too.
It's so crazy. I mean, I would love to go to Annapolis as well and look at Navy, but going to Army was such a crazy. It's so beautiful. It's unreal how pretty it is up there, and just the hills of Eastern New York and the Hudson River, and how it just all kind of fits in there. And you're just like, you're literally 30 minutes from anything. Like it's 30 minutes from the nearest, town that's got a hotel and stuff where you can stay. So, cause we had to stay in some other town, and we drove out there, and you're just like driving through woods and like rolling hills and all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden you pull up, and it's just like the United States, it's the
U.S. military.
It's just military camp. It's just Army.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. The whole campus, like I highly recommend it. Going there, make a weekend out of it so you can take a campus tour. It's unbelievable. Their football stadium, small, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything's just so nice. And the way they do things, and you'll pass. The craziest thing about the whole trip was everything's so hilly. And all these freaking people in the Army that are going to school there are getting in their, workouts and stuff like that. And they're running up these inclines that are literally like this. Like it's a steep hill. Like if you're going to walk around, like more power to you, because I almost died. And I'm walking up this hill struggling. And you got people who are running up this hill in the military academy, and they're just like, "Good morning, how are you?" And I'm just like, "Good." It's bad. It's so cool though. So much fun.
Yeah, definitely a bucket list item to go to that campus, Annapolis, and FCS playoffs continue to roll along as well. Got some big games. You have Montana and James Madison on Friday. That should be a good one between two teams who have combined 3 losses. Saturday, ETSU goes to North Dakota State. The Fargo Dome's going to be rocking for sure. Then you also have South Dakota State's at Villanova. That could be a sneaky good game, I think. Villanova's South Dakota State, has Pierre Strong at running back. I feel like he's been there for 15 years.
Yeah.
He's been there for forever. Really good. And then at 8:30, the defending champion Sam Houston State takes on Montana State. That could be a fun one as well. 2 of these games are on TV. ESPN2 showed Montana James Madison on Friday, and they're showing ETSU and North Dakota State on Saturday. The rest on ESPN Plus. So
yeah, the magical seasons for UT Martin and Southern Illinois came to a screeching halt last week. And while Incarnate Word gave everything they had against Houston, against Sam Houston in a 49-42 loss. So
and then Kennesaw State, Owls, man. Heartbreaking loss. They were up 31-17 with 90 seconds left. ETSU scores, gets the onside kick, scores again, and goes for 2 in the win. Gets the 1-point victory.
Crazy.
In Johnson City. But good year again for Brian Bohannon and the Owls. And their final year of the Big South, because the A-Sun's starting football next season. So interesting to see what happens there for the Owls. But congratulations to KSU on another good season, another Big South championship for sure. So Waffle, we're gonna wrap this up with some top plays this week. I think we might have the same one. We didn't talk about it. It's got to be that game-winning pass from Grayson.
It has to be.
Yeah,
it has to be.
It has to be.
Has to be, man. What an unbelievable game, and just capping off such a sweet victory for Gaffney, beating the 5-time defending state champion in Dutch Fork. So.
Grayson Loftus, heck of a quarterback. He's gotten recruited by some big schools. Got recruited by Michigan State, I know for sure.
Yeah.
Another kid that had a great season, Tyler Smith. We can't talk about Gaffney football about him. He had a heck of a year this year at running back. I think he had the most rushing touchdowns, I think, this year in the state.
Yeah, you can't talk about Gaffney without talking about him because he was the offense and he was the team at times. Like he would pull this team from the depths, and no shade to Grayson Loftus at all because he was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler Smith was the heart and soul of this offense, and he didn't have as easy of a day as he normally does against Dutch Forking. Grayson stepped up to the plate, man, and he threw those 2 touchdowns to Sugar Jeffries. And Gaffney getting a win. Big defensive stops by Gaffney as well.
Yeah, Landon Bullock is a guy you got to talk about. The linebacker. He's made so many good plays this year for Gaffney. He had the game-winning stop against Dorman earlier in the year. Has made so many. Had 2 picks against Dutch Fork. He's been a game changer. He's graduating. I know Presbyterian's looking at him, but maybe
I saw he had an offer from PC, but that's all I've really seen.
I think Citadel's looking at him too, but God, there's some bigger schools I should be looking at him for sure. Wherever he goes, he's going to be a heck of a ball player. So once again, congratulations to Gaffney. 18 state titles. It's awesome to see, and just awesome way for those kids. When we won ours, man, it was a great feeling to win that, and to get another one after 9 years away is just a big time for sure. Yeah. So
Gaffney's back, baby. We're back to being insufferable, and I'm all here for it.
Let's go. Suck it, Burns. That's
always got to throw that in there, even though they're not anywhere near as good as they usually supposed to be.
I just got to throw that one in there.
Suck it. The whole town of Duncan, suck it.
Spartanburg County, suck it. Irmo, suck it. Somerville, just suck it.
Yeah, why not?
History.
Why not?
Coming for you, Chester. What?
And Chester and Pickens against Daniel up there.
Yeah.
Daniel's neck.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our show. Thanks, y'all, for watching and listening. Y'all have a great weekend. See ya. You've been listening to Breakfast Time with Waffle and Richard. Logos designed by Jen Perry. You can follow Richard on Twitter at Ricardo_knows or on Instagram at RNM1996. Catch up with Waffle at WaffDog on Twitter. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on this Bearded Broadcaster production.